Chapter 8:10. It's really too strong. Third young Master Yi, the thousand-faced devil-man, who had stayed in the room, was shocked by the sword chi and shivered all over. Fortunately, the spirit is the foundation of my practice of evil spirit cultivation. The body is just a piece of clothing. No matter how strong Glacier Swordsman is, he can't do anything to me. Third young Master Yi calmed down and gritted his teeth. I've paid a great price for this arrangement. Although it's not complete, the blood sacrifice of the Yi family can be a great supplement for me. I've earned back my cost. Third young Master Yi turned his head to look at the street outside and saw the precious weapon Purple Decease sword in Little Meng's hand. This is what I ordered, but now I can't get it back. Damn it. Taking advantage of the chaos outside, third young Master Yi pretended to be flustered and frightened. He hurriedly left the tavern and hurried back to the Yi family. On the street, Li Yu watched third young Master Yi hurrying into the crowd with a smile. Thousand-faced devil-man, what will you do next? Ahem. Young masters. At this time, a middle-aged man who looked like a constable came up to them. Young masters, I'm Huang Jiqing, the governor of Six Fan School in E City. What happened just now, as the governor of Six Fan School, Huang Jiqing had to bite the bullet and ask. The three people were very powerful. Meng Qi, the gentleman's sword, Qi Jingyan from Huanhua sect, and the even more terrifying Glacier Swordsman Bai Zhe. Huang Jiqing could not afford to offend them. It's just evil spirits. Little Meng greeted Huang Jiqing. They are Joy Devilman and Iron Hand Devilman. They are the 19 Devilmen of the Destruction sect. Huang Jiqing's expression changed. He glanced at the three people and heaved a long sigh of relief. Thanks to young Master Bai's help. Otherwise, E City would have suffered from the chaos caused by demons. Although the 19 Devilmen of the Destruction sect were not hidden skyscraping devils, they were still very terrifying. Even if they had not reached the exterior, they were all elusive and unpredictable. Their devil skills were strange and impossible to guard against. It's okay. Li Yu waved his hand and ignored the governor of the Six Fan School. He turned around and left the long street. No wonder he's ranked first on the human list. His strength is terrifying. Huang Jiqing looked at the two frozen human demons, the floral moon tower covered in snow, and the dead 9 apertures figures in the tower. His expression turned grave. Meng Qi, the gentleman's sword, killed 2 9 Acupores masters. Qi Jingyan killed Tang Wu and Manager Lin. Bai Zhe killed the other 2. This time, the 4 big clans of E City will suffer heavy losses. In E City, a 9 apertures expert was already a top master. The loss of so many 9 Acupores cultivators from the 4 great families was disastrous. Huang Jiqing had also suffered quite a bit from the 4 great clans. Seeing this situation, he was somewhat gloating. However, on second thought, even if the 4 great families were wiped out, they would still have to depend on the Huanhua Sword sect and the Wang family. Being the governor of the Six Fan School in the vicinity of the major sects and aristocratic families was really torturous. Huang Jiqing heaved a long sigh and walked out of the floral moon tower, returning to the Six Fan School's encampment. Glacier Swordsman is here? At this time, the 4 great families of E City were a little flustered. This time, the 4 great families planned to betray the Huanhua Sword sect and turn to the Wang family of River East. This was already an act of betrayal. Originally, with the Wang family as their backing, the Huanhua Sword sect could not do anything to them once they were under the protection of the Wang family. But now, with the Glacier Swordsman making such a scene, everything was over. The Huanhua Sword sect's forces had not been cleared out, and the Wang family's forces had not entered. Even if the Wang family wanted to help, they had to do it themselves before they could take over. It's over. It's over. What should we do now? Now, even if they wanted to go all the way and join forces to raid the Huanhua Sword sect's encampment and destroy all the Huanhua Sword sect's forces in E City, they could not do it. Because, the glacier swordsman. With the glacier swordsman around, anyone who dared to move would die. The ice sculpture outside the floral moon tower had just been pulled back by the Six Fan School. If they turned to the Huanhua sword sect again, who would trust them after betraying them once? The four great families were at a loss. In fact, it was not right to call them the four great families. At least, the Yi family's leader was not flustered at all. Humph! Glacier swordsman, this is not over. Third young Master Yi returned to the Yi family with a ferocious expression. His eyes were emitting green flames, and his entire person appeared to be green. Despite such an abnormal situation, the Yi family's leaders were not shocked at all. They were very calm. Because they had already fallen under Third Young Master Ye's evil scheme and their minds were all under his control. Joy Devilman's words are somewhat reasonable. Now I can only sacrifice the Yi family in blood and change my skin. Third Young Master Yi gritted his teeth and waved his hand. Go, start the blood sacrifice array. At this time, Li Yu, who had returned to the rice shop, suddenly raised his head and looked in the direction of the Yi family. So, your plan is the blood sacrifice? At this time, Second Young Master Tang can appear. With a light flick of his sleeve, Second Young Master Tang, who was kept in the resource vault by Li Yu, instantly broke through the void and was thrown into the Yi family. With Li Yu's help, Second Young Master Tang had a complete virtual memory of this period of time. He knew Third Young Master Ye's identity and plans like the back of his hand. At this time, Third Young Master Yi was standing on the blood sacrifice array with a ferocious smile. Although the Yi family's blood sacrifice can't help me break through the realm, it's not without some benefits. With this experience, my chances of breaking through will be even greater. Opening his arms, Third Young Master Yi narrowed his eyes as if he could see the souls screaming in fear and boiling blood. The taste of the blood sacrifice is really fascinating. Licking his lips, Third Young Master Yi had an intoxicated expression. Thousand-faced Devilman, die! A loud shout interrupted Third Young Master Ye's fantasy. Looking up and seeing the figure in front of him, Third Young Master Yi jumped up in shock. Second Young Master Tang? You're not dead yet? How can you not be dead? The unrelenting tower would actually cheat when doing business? They clearly said that they had killed him, but he was still alive and well? Was the killer organization not honest anymore? How could he continue to play? Boom! A roar of raging tides sounded, interrupting Third Young Master Ye's resentment against the unrelenting tower. Second Young Master Tang stepped forward, waved his long saber, and chopped down. When the saber was chopped out, the roar of raging tides sounded. The raging tides were turbulent, the waves were towering, and the rolling river was endless. It was as if a raging river had appeared in front of him. As the raging river surged, a saber radiance rose to the sky, cutting off the huge waves and cutting off the river. It was as if the endless river had been sliced into two by the saber. The wave-viewing invitation, the river-splitting saber. Third Young Master Yi was shocked. Second Young Master Tang, when did he have such strength? How can he release the exterior saber intent? He already has the strength of 9 apertures, his saber skills are extraordinary, and he can release the exterior saber intent. How can he say that he is ignorant? How can he say that his kung fu has not reached 6 apertures? Unrelenting Tower, how do you do business? Chapter 8:11. This is, the saber radiance shot up like a raging tide and a surging river. Now was the time when the glacier swordsman had stirred up panic, and the atmosphere in Yi City was tense. Naturally, the saber attack shocked countless people. They looked up and saw the saber radiance shooting up into the sky. It was as if the saber radiance had split the surging tide and cut off the river. Countless people were horrified. The wave-viewing invitation, the river-splitting saber. Which member of the Tang family did this? Is there anyone in the Tang family who has practiced the river-splitting saber to this extent? That direction, the Yi family? Is there a conflict between the Tang family and the Yi family? What's going on? At this moment, people from the other three families rushed out of their houses and rushed toward the Yi family. What's going on? Huang Jiqing, the governor of the six-fan school in Yi City, kicked away the chair in front of him and rushed out of the six-fan school's encampment. The Tang family and the Yi family are fighting? What's going on? As the only steward of the Huanhua Swords sect in Yi City, he naturally had to take care of this. After all, nominally, the four families were still under the jurisdiction of the Huanhua sect. Let's go and have a look. Little Meng was fond of excitement, so he would not miss the opportunity to watch the fun. I'll go too. If Li Yu wanted to go, it was naturally to watch the show. It's great that Brother Bai can go. Qi Jingyan nodded happily. The four families in Yi City all had precious weapons. The four families had just joined hands to attack the steward of the Huanhua Swords sect. It was hard to say whether the four families would join hands to attack them with precious weapons. With Bai Zhe as a shield, precious weapons were nothing to be afraid of. After a while, people from all walks of life rushed to the Yi family. This is, seeing the faint blood-red light in the Yi family's courtyard and the howling of the wronged souls, everyone's expression changed greatly. Damn it! It's evil spirit cultivation. As the governor of the six-fan school, Huang Jiqing was no stranger to it. Seeing the array that enveloped the entire Yi residence, how could they not know what was going on? Everyone, this evil demon wants to sacrifice the Yi clan. Please let go of your prejudices and work together to slay this demon. Huang Jiqing shouted at the people gathered from all directions. Then, he kicked open the door of the Yi residence and led a few of his subordinates into the courtyard of the Yi residence. In fact, Huang Jiqing was cursing in his heart. I've had enough. All these years, he had been bullied by the four great clans and had suffered a lot. Now that another evil demon blood sacrifice had appeared, they had no choice but to rush to the front. Do you think it's easy for me to get such a small salary? The demonic blood sacrifice must be eradicated. Otherwise, it will be a great disaster. Fortunately, the remaining people on his side all knew the seriousness of the matter. There was no infighting, dragging him down, or any other situation. One by one, they led their men and charged into the Yi family's courtyard. Is that Tang? Second young Master Tang? Rushing into the yard, everyone suddenly realized that the figure who was fighting with the evil spirit and seemed to have the upper hand was actually the second young Master Tang, who had been assassinated by the unrelenting tower and whose fate was unknown. Second brother. Tang Mingzhu shouted excitedly when she saw the figure wielding the saber. My second brother is also so powerful. My second brother is no worse than those young heroes. Second young master has practiced his saber technique to such a level? His strength is already at 9 apertures? Great. That's great. Tang Ren, old Master Tang's personal attendant, who was at 9 apertures, was trembling with excitement as he held the Tang family's precious weapon, Guanlan saber. Old Master, you don't have to worry. Second young master, he's very capable, he's too capable. Damn it. This guy is still alive? How did Master Yi do his job? Master Tang the Seventh, who was in cahoots with Master Yi, was furious when he saw second young Master Tang. Damn it, that guy is still alive? How could I have misjudged him? Little Meng suddenly felt guilty. He patted his chest and said, It's okay, it's okay. I haven't used second young Master Tang's identity. Otherwise, it would be embarrassing. Everyone, take action quickly. Master Yi is the Thousand Faces Devil Man of the Destruction sect. He controlled the Yi family with evil sorcery and framed you. He wanted to cause a fight between the Huanhua Swords sect and the Wang family so as to sacrifice Zhen Yi City. You've all been fooled by him. At this time, second young Master Tang told the truth while waving his saber. Damn it! Thousand Faces Devil Man. Evil spirit cultivation. Thinking of the maidservants sent by Master Yi, the leaders of the three families suddenly changed their faces. Fortunately, they found it early. Otherwise, they would end up like the Yi family. Their divine souls were taken away by the evil spirit and turned into puppets. They were walking corpses and would end up being sacrificed. Second young master, take the saber. Tangren rushed forward and threw the Guanlan saber in his hand to second young master Tang. Everyone, take action quickly. Huang Jiqing shouted as he pulled out his saber and rushed forward. Turns out that this guy is behind this. Little Meng had met the ghastly, green guy in front of him in the Devil Tomb reincarnation mission. He didn't expect this guy to change his appearance and become Master Yi. Kill. Everyone knew the severity of the situation and rushed forward to attack. Roaring flame spear. Cloud-turning saber. Guanlan saber. 3 precious weapons were activated at the same time. The power of half-step exterior scenery burst out violently. At the same time, a pair of boxing gloves appeared in Huang Jiqing's hands, bursting with dense electric light. I have a precious weapon as well. Thunder Fist. Between the electric light, Huang Jiqing fiercely punched down. At the same time, Little Meng and Qi Jingyan pulled out their swords at the same time. The dazzling sword light tore through the sky and slashed at Master Yi. Even an exterior expert would have to take this round of attack seriously. Although Master Yi was strange, he was only in the 9 apertures realm. How could he withstand it? Boom! With a violent boom, Yi San's ghost-like jade-green figure was instantly blasted into smithereens. Do you think you can kill me like this? Gods are immortal and indestructible. Above Yi San's body, which had been pulverized into powder, a dark green light shone and formed a human figure in midair. Wait for me. I'll be back. Yi City will be flooded with blood. After saying this, Master Yi turned around and ran away. In his current state of divine soul, he could not stay in the outside world for long. He had to change his body quickly. Master Yi had countless furnaces. Changing a body was like changing clothes. Losing a body was not a problem at all. However, immortal? I don't believe it. Bai Zhe sneered and unsheathed his long sword. Clang! A sword roar rose into the sky. The blue sword light revealed a coldness that could freeze everything. With a slash, everything was frozen. That blustering, bluish-green spiritual body was frozen and annihilated by this sword strike. The evil spirit cultivated by evil spirit cultivation is gone just like that? Everyone was horrified. Wasn't it said that evil spirits were hard to kill? Wasn't it said that evil spirits would exist forever as long as the furnaces were not destroyed? How could the evil spirit be killed with one slash? It's hard for evil spirits to enter the saint realm. This way of cultivating the divine soul is simply a crooked and evil way. Do you think you can be immortal? With a sneer, he sheathed his sword. The young man in the white robe had a peerless grace, like an immortal. No wonder he ranked first on the ranking list of young masters. Everyone was amazed. Chapter 8:12. The chaos in Yi City was thus quelled. With the 1,000-faced Devilman as the scapegoat, the big families in Yi City quickly returned to the Huanhua sword sect. Everyone got along harmoniously. Of course, all of this had nothing to do with Little Meng and the others. Qi Jingyan was demoted and sent to Yi City to take charge. Bai Zhe, the glacier swordsman, had already left Yi City for Divine Capital, the capital of Dajin. Gentleman Sword, Meng Qi got rid of this disguise and changed to his main identity, Thunderblade Furious Monk Meng Qi. Then, he joined the 6 Fan School. In order to wash away his image of being 8 feet tall and 8 feet wide, he decided to join the 6 Fan School and become a secret agent. He removed the words lay and monk and gave himself the name Crazy Blade. Then, he showed his face a few times and fought a few rounds with the so-called Wuling Masters. The onlookers directly called him Killing Blade. F***ck. Why was it so difficult to find a suitable nickname? Little Meng was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. The Samsara task begins. This is a death mission. It is extremely dangerous. Please be prepared. Mission background. 800 years after the journey to the west, demons wreaked havoc in the human world. Mission objective: survive for 7 days. While Little Meng was feeling depressed, another Samsara task began. In a trance, Little Meng disappeared from the small courtyard in Yi City and arrived at Samsara Square in an instant. Killing Blade, 19th on the ranking list of young masters. Not bad. Jiang Jiwei looked at Little Meng, who had appeared in the Samsara Square, with a smile and joked. Little Meng, your strength is improving very fast. You're about to open 7 apertures, right? Zhang Yuanshan and Fu Jinjin kissed and walked together again. Since Zhang Yuanshan had obtained the Yin and Yang sword from the ancestral master's impartation, he had become the treasure of the Zhen Wu sect. Although the Song family hoped to unite with the Zhang family through marriage, Zhang Yuanshan was unwilling to do so. I'm also at 6 apertures. Qi Jingyan reported his strength with a smile. I have 7 apertures, Zhenjin has 4 apertures. The death mission was about to begin, so it was necessary for them to know each other's strength. Zhang Yuanshan also reported his and Fu Jinjin's strength. I've opened 8 apertures. Jiang Jiwei flicked her sword and smiled. In addition to these old teammates, there were 3 new teammates. One of them was the beautiful girl, Ruan Yushu. He was born in the Ruan clan of Langya, one of the 14 aristocratic families in the world. He was born with an innate talent for the zither and a cultivation of 6 apertures. There were 2 other men. One of them was Luo Xingyi, a 9 apertures cultivator who was good at fist technique. One of them was called Go Huan. He was a 4 apertures cultivator and was good at divination. The death mission is extremely difficult and unusual. We need to be fully prepared. Little Meng raised the purple deceased sword in his hand and said, I've obtained a precious weapon. My attack power is enough for now. This is the demon world, so we need to exchange for some treasures that can restrain demons. Healing medicine can't be ignored either. Everyone discussed and soon finished their preparations. Samsara mission begins. After a quarter of an hour, the cold voice of the dominator of Samsara in 6 realms rang out. Heaven and earth changed, and everyone arrived at another world in an instant. It was a Buddhist temple. However, this temple was very dilapidated. The floor tiles were broken, the walls were cracked, the roof had collapsed, and there were weeds everywhere. The Buddha statue in the temple hall had already collapsed. The great Buddha fell to the ground and broke into several pieces. Its head rolled to the ground. When Little Meng and the others appeared in the temple hall, they happened to be facing the Buddha head. The rolling Buddha head had a benevolent smile on its face. Seeing this scene, everyone inexplicably felt a chill run down their spines. Even the statue of Buddha has been shattered? Demons are indeed wreaking havoc in the human world. In this world where demons, immortals, and Buddhas existed, who would be so bold as to break the Buddha statue? Aren't you afraid that the Buddha will kill you with a breath? Now, even the statue of Buddha had been shattered. It was obvious how rampant the demons in this world were. I have some knowledge of divination. I can do some divination. Gohan took out a few copper coins. He closed his eyes and waved his hand, scattering the coins. Ding! The sound of the coins rolling on the ground gradually disappeared. Gohuayan focused his eyes and his expression changed drastically. This place is very dangerous. The death mission is indeed dangerous. Hearing the result of Gohuayan's divination, everyone sighed. They were not surprised. Where is the auspicious place? Little Meng asked Gohuan. This world was very strange to everyone. Everyone was in the dark. They did not know where they were and where the danger came from. The way of divination was also a magical secret method. It was suitable to use at this time. Let me calculate again. Guhuai and picked up the copper coins and threw them several times. His expression became more and more solemn. There is a great omen in every direction. We seem to be in a dangerous place. Okay. Everyone sighed. It was indeed a death mission. What is that? While everyone was talking, Jiang Jiwei suddenly found that under the thick dust on the ground, there seemed to be a trace of golden light. She stepped forward and pulled out her sword to sweep away the dust. A huge bronze plaque appeared in front of everyone. The plaque was also covered with a thick layer of dirt. The exposed part had a Sanskrit word. Little Meng, who was born a monk, naturally knew Sanskrit. The word that was revealed was the word temple. This should be a plaque of a temple. Knowing what temple this is will help us understand where we are now. Little Meng stepped forward, pulled out his long knife, and scraped off the dirt on the plaque bit by bit. To Little Meng's surprise, the long saber in his hand, which was at the refined weapon level, did not leave a single scratch on the plaque when it scraped against it. This thing, is it a treasure? Little Meng was suspicious. Little Meng scraped off the dirt bit by bit, and two more words appeared. Thunder. Thunder Temple? Little Meng's expression changed. In the world of Journey to the West, only the Big Thunder Temple and Small Thunder Temple were related to the Thunder Temple. Don't worry about the Big Thunder Temple. That was the place of Buddha. This place could not be the Big Thunder Temple. If it was the Small Thunder Temple, then it would be troublesome. In Journey to the West, the Small Thunder Temple's yellow wind monster could easily kill all of us with just a breath. Little Meng continued to scrape with a serious expression. The words appeared little by little. Phew! Fortunately, it's not small. It's not Small Thunder Temple or Yellow Wind Monster. I don't have to worry about being killed instantly. Little Meng heaved a sigh of relief when he saw the word appear. Then, he stared at the word, and his hands began to tremble. It was the word big. Connected together, it was Big Thunder Temple. F***CK. This is the Big Thunder Temple? Even Buddha's lair has become like this? Even if demons wreaked havoc in the human world, there was no need to be so ruthless, right? Even Buddha's lair has been destroyed by demons? Then, if we come here, do we have a chance of survival? Perhaps an eminent monk invited the plaque of the Big Thunder Temple from Mount Numinous in order to quell the chaos caused by demons? But even Buddha's plaque could not suppress these demons that wreaked havoc in the human world? This death mission would be very difficult. Chapter 8:13. Has Little Meng started his first death mission? Bai Zhe, who was on a boat going down the river to Shindu, sensed that Little Meng and the rest had entered the world of samsara to face their first death mission. According to the original trajectory, this death mission would have resulted in a lot of casualties. Only Little Meng, Jiang Jiwei, Qi Jingyan, and Ruan Yushu were left alive. Everyone else is dead. Liu looked up at the sky. His gaze seemed to pierce through time and space and saw the people in the world of Journey to the West. Young man, I will help you this time. With a thought, Gu Chongqing, who was practicing swordsmanship in a house in Shindu, was instantly thrown into the world of Journey to the West by Liu. In the world of 6 Paths of Samsara, a few half-dead old monsters got together and created a pond to raise fish. Between them, they were also pulling each other back in the dark. Sure enough, this is how villains are like. The world of 6 Paths of Samsara was created by the devil Buddha Ananda, immortal Luya, the demonic monarch, the 7-kill priest, and the ancestor of water. The spirited mountain in the world of Journey to the West is suppressing the devil Buddha Ananda. Little Meng is one of Ananda's fish. Back then, Ananda practiced the Buddha's palm in reverse and turned Buddha into a demon. He became the devil Buddha and a top master of the Nirvana realm. He caused chaos and almost destroyed the ancient times. The Buddha took action and suppressed Ananda in the spirited mountain. However, Ananda was already prepared. He had already set up Little Meng as a fish, and was only waiting to raise this fish so that it could escape. Little Meng was Ananda's reflected self, or rather, his reincarnation. However, Ananda's background was not simple. He was not just the devil Buddha. Little Meng has been targeted by many people. Ananda, the three pure ones, the Queen Mother of the West, the demonic saint Zhenwu, Erlangshen, and so on. It was like a cake that everyone wanted a bite. In the holy mountain of the journey to the west, the fisherman of Little Meng's fish, Ananda, is waiting in the depths of the holy mountain. Liu also found it funny. He wondered which guy in the Dominator of Samsara in 6 realms had sent Little Meng here in order to make trouble for Ananda. Forget it, I don't have to do anything for the time being. I don't want to expose myself to those Nirvana realm people who have jumped out of the river of time and hid in the chaos. Once those fellows discovered that a person with such terrifying strength like Li Yu had appeared in their pond, those fellows would definitely be scared out of their wits. Let's not mess up the rhythm. Let's play slowly. Li Yu chuckled and turned to look at the world of Journey to the West. Gu Chongqing is still in danger in the world of Journey to the West. After all, he will be exposed to Ananda when he goes deep into the spirited mountain. Ananda was in charge of the seal of Samsara. This was the reincarnation of Ho Tuesday. She had used her own body to create a supreme treasure. The so-called reincarnation space was created by using supreme treasures like the seal of Samsara and the list of deification, together with a few mighty people's joint casting spells. Ananda was one of the dominators of Samsara. Fortunately, when I hacked the reincarnation space, I gave Gu Chongqing a fake identity as a Samsara traveler. With Ananda's current strength, he definitely won't be able to see through it. Li Yu was still very confident about this. With Li Yu's strength and the ability of the system, if he couldn't even fool Ananda, who was suppressed and couldn't use much of his strength, then there was no point in playing. As long as Ananda doesn't act recklessly, Gu Chongqing should be able to handle it. Just in case, I'd better give him a life-saving item. With a flick of his finger, Li Yu sent a talisman to Gu Chongqing. Journey to the West. When Little Meng and the others were shocked by the plaque of Big Lane Temple, they suddenly heard the howling of the wind outside. They looked up and saw the demon aura outside. A gust of demon wind swept up, followed by countless demon aura behind it. It was like a dark cloud rushing toward the temple with the howling of the wind. Riding the wind? Seeing this, everyone's expression changed. Being able to ride the wind meant that it was at least a half-step exterior scenery monster. Get ready for battle. Since demons were causing havoc in the human world, these monsters definitely weren't here to chat with you. After all, monsters had a hobby, and that was eating humans. Third Great King, it's here. Human breath. There's someone inside. Quick, catch them. Don't let them escape. Steam them with water this time. They're tender and smooth. Maybe they're those old bones. They have to be fried to taste good. The black wind mixed with the demon aura enveloped the entire temple. One by one, strange humanoid creatures rushed into the temple with strange cries. They were monsters that hadn't finished their transformation. Some had wolf tails, some had dog heads, some had horns, some had scales, some had wings, and so on. These monsters held steel forks and long spears as they rushed in with strange cries. Kill! The monsters were attacking, and they were all shouting that they should be fried and steamed. If they didn't fight, they would be fried and steamed. Little Meng Qi leaped up and swung his saber down. His sword moved as fast as lightning as he swung both his saber and sword, chopping off several heads in a row. There were sheep, wolves, tigers, and rabbit. The others also attacked. For a moment, swords and sabers flew and blood flowed like a river. For a moment, the monsters that rushed in were all gone. Little ones, get out of my way! The black wind whistled in the air as a wolf monster rushed down with a roar. This monster was covered in black hair and had a wolf's mouth and a human's face. It held 2 golden hammers in its hands. With the momentum of pouncing down, it smashed down like a mountain. Boom! There was a sudden explosion. It seemed that even the void was smashed by the hammers. It's at least a half-step exterior scenery monster. Little Meng knew that except for him, no one else could resist this monster. He took a deep breath and ran the 8-9 mysteries with all his strength. His black clothes were stretched and his muscles seemed to be bulging. Purple Decease Sword, kill the monster. The precious weapon, Purple Decease Sword, slashed out fiercely. A purple-red sword chi tore through the sky and met the wolf monster with the giant hammers. Boom! The sword chi and the giant hammers collided fiercely with a loud noise. A large part of the dilapidated temple collapsed. Ow! The wolf demon howled in pain. The sword chi of the Purple Decease Sword had ruthlessly cut open many wounds on its body. Stinky demon blood gushed out from the wounds. Even so, it was only a flesh wound. Clang! At this moment, Ruan Yushu held the guqin horizontally with her left hand and suddenly plucked her right finger. The sound of the guqin burst out. The sound condensed and went straight into the wolf monster's soul. Its body could not help but tremble and stagnate. Ruan Yushu took a step back, and one of the strings of the guqin broke. An Ata sword. A dazzling sword light lit up. It was decisive. The Anata sword would not return until it had won. It seemed to have penetrated time and space. As soon as the sword light rushed up, it instantly stabbed the wolf monster between its eyebrows. Ow! After all, the wolf monster was at half-step exterior scenery. It sensed the danger and shouted loudly. It spat out a bead in front of its body. Boom! The monster core was broken. The wolf monster spat out blood. A deep scratch appeared between its eyebrows. It was so deep that its bones could be seen. Unfortunately, the sword did not pierce through its head. Clang! A sword light soared into the sky. It was like the flow of yin and yang, the cycle of life and death, and the alternation of light and darkness. Yin and yang sword. Zhang Yuanshan stabbed with his sword. The sword chi rushed to the sky. Puff! Blood splashed. The wolf monster was beheaded by the sword. We finally killed it. Everyone heaved a long sigh of relief. It was a half-step exterior scenery attack from the beginning. They had almost used all their trump cards to kill this monster. The death task was really difficult. Third brother, who dares to kill my third brother? A furious roar rang out, and a huge lion that was over 10 zhang long, as if it had 9 heads, charged over with a furious roar. Another more ferocious one? Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. How could they survive? Chapter 8:14. Roar. An earth-shattering roar was heard and a huge sound wave swept out like a hurricane. For a moment, the sky darkened and sand and pebbles flew everywhere. Lion's roar. This was the real lion's roar. This lion demon was a 9-headed lion. Its ancestor, the 9-headed Yuan sage, was the Mount of Tai Jinren. With such a background, although the lion demon's strength was only at the half-step exterior scenery level, its divine sense was more powerful than that of the wolf demon. It's actually a descendant of the 9-headed Yuan sage. Upon seeing the 9-headed lion and recalling that this was the world of Journey to the West, Little Meng immediately knew the origin of this lion. Such an earth-shattering divine power was really terrifying. Everyone lay on the ground, stabbed their weapons into the ground, and used techniques such as the 1,000-pound fall to stabilize their bodies. This was why they were not blown away by the roar. However, the mighty sound wave shook their internal organs and made them bleed from their orifices. How dare you kill my third brother? All of you must die. The lion's roar was only the prelude. One of the heads of the 9-headed lion was the largest. On this head there were 8 smaller lion heads. At this moment, the huge head in the middle opened its mouth, which was full of fangs like a huge bloody black hole. Suck! After the lion's roar, the nine-headed lion opened its mouth and took a deep breath. A huge suction force was generated and pulled everyone off the ground. If it were not for the weapons stuck in the ground, they would have been sucked into the lion's mouth. Little Meng's 8-9 mystic arts was not at the level of the great sage. If he fell into the lion's mouth, he would not be able to make the demon beg for mercy. The purple deceased sword had been activated once, and he did not have enough genuine chi to activate it again. The only outcome would be to be digested by the lion and become a pile of lion poop. Damn it! Everyone hung on to the weapons stuck in the ground, but they would not be able to hold on for long under this endless suction force. Fu Jinjin and Gohen, who were the weakest, were only at the 4 apertures level. They could not hold on any longer. Death task was indeed worthy of being called a death task. They had only been here for a few minutes, and they were already facing the crisis of being wiped out. Evildoer, how dare you act so viciously? At this moment, an angry roar sounded. A beam of sword light shot up into the sky. Grand and honorable, vast and abundant, like the sun rising from the east. The brilliant sword light was like the scorching sun in the sky, illuminating the heaven and earth. Righteous chi exists in heaven and earth, and the chaos gives rise to manifold. Below are rivers and mountains, and above are the sun and stars. The Howran sword intent showed the image of the sun among the 4 scenes of river, mountain, sun, and star. This was because he had comprehended the Vairocana Zen sword and the Vairocana divine palm. As a result, among the 4 scenes of the Howran sword intent, the image of the grand sun already had some true meaning. Vast evergreen. Brother Gu. Little Meng and the others, who were bitterly holding on, cried out in surprise when they saw this shocking sword strike. Gu Chongqing was here. At least he would not be eaten by the lion. Yes, this shocking sword shot up like the sun rising from the east, illuminating heaven and earth. The 9-headed lion was no longer in the mood to swallow Little Meng and the others. The 9-headed lion quickly stopped sucking, and a light burst out from its body. It turned into a monster with a lion head and a human body. A huge club appeared in its hand. It raised the club and smashed it towards the sword. Boom! A strong wind stirred up the sand and stones. Gu Chongqing's shocking sword strike had some gist of trueness of the exterior, but it could not hurt the 9-headed lion at all. This 9-headed lion at half-step exterior scenery was more powerful than the average half-step exterior scenery. Demon revealing mirror. At this moment, the people who had escaped from the 9-headed lion's swallowing also attacked together. Fu Jinjin activated the replica of the demon revealing mirror and shot out a beam of light, shining on the 9-headed lion. The replica of the demon-revealing mirror exchanged by the dominator of samsara in 6 realms was not discounted. It could indeed restrain monsters. When the light shrouded the 9-headed lion, it trembled and froze on the spot. Clang! Wan Yushu broke another string and played the 8 sounds of the demi-dragon. The sound condensed and went straight to the soul, shaking the 9-headed lion. An Ata sword. Jiang Jiwei leaped up and swung her sword. The bright sword light tore through the sky as if it had pierced through time and space. It instantly stabbed the 9-headed lion between its eyebrows. Yin and Yang sword. The samsara of life and death alternated between light and darkness. The sword light was shocking and went straight for the 9-headed lion's neck. Howran sword chi. Gu Chongqing's long sword shook like the sun rising from the east. The sword light went straight for the 9-headed lion's heart. Holy fist of mountains. Luo Shengyi sucked in his chest and abdomen. He swung his right fist and hit the 9-headed lion with great force. Violent thunder shocking the sky. Little Meng jumped up and swung the long saber in his right hand. Boom! Thunder exploded and lightning flashed. A huge purple lightning circled around the long saber. It looked like a dragon and was as powerful as a mountain. Even the sky seemed to shake and the wind and clouds surged. Everyone used all their trump cards and unique skills. Blood splattered and bones were broken. The nine-headed lion did not survive this round of big move. Bang! It fell to the ground with purple lightning all over its body. The nine-headed lion wailed and kept rolling, crushing the floor tiles. Then its body twitched and it died. Phew! We finally killed it. Everyone leaned on their weapons and breathed heavily. They were sweating and their limbs were weak. Everyone's cultivation was still relatively weak. Gu Chongqing, the strongest, had just opened 9 apertures. Jiang Jiwei had only opened 8 apertures. In this realm, they had used up too much energy after triggering the gist of trueness of the exterior twice. Now their limbs were weak and they were sweating all over. This place is extremely dangerous. We can't stay here for long. Guhen threw the copper coin again and got the same ominous sign. You don't need to calculate. We know that this place is extremely dangerous. They had only been here for a few minutes, and they had already encountered 2 half-step exterior scenery monsters. If this was not dangerous, what was? They swallowed an elixir and recovered some of their primordial qi. Everyone collected their trophies first. As a samsara traveler, it was almost instinctive for him to plunder the spoils of war. The wolf demon's pair of big hammers and the 9-headed lion's huge stick were not ordinary objects. Even if they were not precious weapons, they were top-refined weapons. But they were too heavy. The pair of big hammers weighed more than 100 kilograms each. The huge stick was even heavier. It was almost 250 kilograms. It was really inconvenient to carry such heavy things. We can put them in here. She took out a jade-like crystal ring and waved her hand. An invisible wave swept over and the hammers and the huge stick were instantly stored in the ring. 1,000-mile house was the epitome of a bag, storing Mount Sumeru in a mustard seed. This was a storage ring. Rich. She was the legitimate daughter of the Yuan family of Langya, one of the 14 aristocratic families in the world. How could she not be rich? Do you want the bodies of these 2 monsters? Gu Chongqing pointed at the bodies of the wolf demon and the 9-headed lion and asked everyone. No. Little Meng shook his head and looked at Gu Chongqing in confusion. Brother Gu, why do you want them? To eat meat? Oh, I once obtained a method of refining elixirs using monsters as materials. I want to try it. Gu Chongqing smiled at everyone. If you don't want them, I'll take them. With a wave of his hand, the 2 monsters that were more than 100 feet long were taken away by Gu Chongqing. Rich. So Brother Gu is the real rich. The space in a storage ring could be big or small. A storage ring with a radius of 10 feet was already a great treasure. How precious would a storage ring that could take a 100-feet beast be? Chapter 8:15. We've just arrived here, and there's already a monster attack. Little Meng looked around and frowned. I don't believe that there's nothing wrong with this place. Let's look around and see if there's a small demon that's still alive. Let's find out the reason. If they couldn't find out the reason, no matter where they went, they wouldn't be at peace. Everyone started to look for small demons that were still alive. After a while, they found a small demon that was still alive. What are you doing here? They started to interrogate the small demon. Just now, there was a huge beam of light that shot into the sky. We could see it from afar. The 2 kings said that the opportunity had arrived and asked us to look for this temple. What opportunity? Everyone looked at each other. How could there be light? Could it be that the dominator of samsara in 6 realms made a commotion to lure the demons here? The opportunity to find the whereabouts of the great sages. The great sages. Little Meng's heart skipped a beat. He hoped that there were more great sages like the great sages of heaven and ocean cover. Otherwise, there would be no way to survive. As for the great sage, heaven's equal, Little Meng didn't even dare to think about it. Moreover, the Monkey King was a demon. He would die if he encountered him. There was no need to think about anything else. Back then, the Gautama Buddha suddenly died. The demonic sage led the great sages to attack Spirited Mountain. Because the great sage returned to the demon race, they successfully attacked Spirited Mountain. However, only the demonic divine empress managed to come out. When the opportunity for the Tao arrived, the great sages were able to leave. Not long after, the demonic divine empress passed away. She used her own true fire to refine her remains into a black golden spear with phoenix wings. Little Meng was stunned by the first half of the story. It was one thing for the great sage to attack Spirited Mountain. With the monkey's temper, what wouldn't he do? However, the Gautama Buddha suddenly died. What kind of godly development was this? How could someone like the Gautama Buddha die? In the second half, Jiang Jiwei and the rest felt that this legend was somewhat familiar. It was exactly the same as the legend of the demonic sage in the main world. Is the demonic sage the first phoenix after the creation of the world? Zhang Yuanshan asked with a serious expression. Of course. The little demon asked proudly. Everyone was surprised and doubtful. Little Meng's heart skipped a beat as he remembered the sentence in the secret passage at the back of the Shaolin Temple, "Those who are heartless and fickle will be killed." He asked the little demon, "Have you heard of Ananda?" Ananda? The demon saint's last order states that all demons shall kill anyone who practices the Ananda oath-breaking bladesmanship. The small demon shouted passionately. What the hell? What kind of messy journey to the west is this? I've practiced Ananda oath-breaking blade before. In this world, wouldn't that make him the common enemy of all demons? Little Meng was confused and cursed Ananda in his heart. Does the heavenly courts not care about the demon sage attacking the spiritual mountain? He recalled that when the monkey wreaked havoc in the heavenly palace, the Tathagata Buddha helped to suppress the monkey. Now that the demons are attacking Mount Numinous, the heavenly courts are not going to help? I heard that the Devil Master attacked the heavenly court. It's said that the heavenly court is gone. Everyone fell silent again. The demons had invaded Mount Numinous, so it was not strange that the heavenly courts were gone. But what about Taishang Laojun? Where is the heavenly primogenitor? Where is the prime of Tongtian? Where is Amitba? Where is Kundi? Are they not going to do anything? Little Meng shook his head. These existences were too unfathomable. He could not guess what was going on in their minds at all. The wolf demon is the third king. Who is the lion? How many kings do you have? Gu Chongqing asked. Right now, they were in conflict with this group of demons. They had to figure out the enemy's strength before making plans. The Yellow Lion King is the second king. My great king is even more extraordinary. He was the great demon who fought with the great sage, heaven's equal, for 800 rounds 800 years ago. The small demon's eyes lit up when he mentioned the great king. He was extremely proud. He fought with the great sage, heaven's equal, for 800 rounds? Damn, he can't be that fierce, right? Could we afford to offend a demon who could fight with the monkey for 800 rounds? We've met the real demon king. Everyone's faces turned pale and cold sweat broke out on their foreheads. Especially Little Meng. He knew how terrifying the monkey was. The death task was that scary? We're only in the enlightenment realm. We're going to fight with a demon king who's at least a Dharmakaya. How are we supposed to live? Who is your great king? They'd already killed 2 of his brothers. There was no way to settle this peacefully. No matter how powerful the enemy was, they had to figure out who the enemy was first. My great king is called the King of Emerald Waves. He used to be called Murky. The little demon proudly raised his head and revealed a resounding name. Little Meng spat saliva all over the small demon's face. Damn, it's this guy. Who's Murky? He's the main character of The Great King Sent Me to Patrol the Mountains. What was the extent of this guy's strength? Forget about fighting with the great sage for 800 rounds. The monkey could kill him countless times with a single breath. He's bragging to this extent. I'm scared to death. However, this was something that happened 800 years ago. Murky had lived for 800 years. He didn't become the boss of the wolf demon and the nine-headed lion by bragging, right? Who's more powerful among your great king, second king and third king? He had to get to the bottom of this. They couldn't stay at the level of the great king sent me to patrol the mountains. Of course it's the great king. The small demon shouted with reverence. Second king and third king had to join forces to fight it to a draw. No wonder it's the master who fought with great sage for 800 rounds. My great king is the most powerful within 800 miles. That's good. Hearing the small demon's description, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Murky was able to fight two half-step exterior scenery monsters to a draw. Murky was at most a beginner of the exterior. But even a beginner of the exterior was not something they could deal with. Murky was invincible within 800 miles. How could he be so powerful? Thinking of Murky in Journey to the West, Little Meng sighed. It was true that when the tiger was absent, the monkey became king. Where's your great king now? It was necessary to know the enemy's whereabouts. Little Meng hurriedly asked. My great king went to Emerald Lake to visit relatives and hasn't returned yet. But the light from before was very conspicuous. It should have seen it, the small demon answered honestly. That's good. We don't have to worry about running into Murky for now. Little Meng heaved a sigh of relief and waved his sword to send the small demon on its way. He turned to look at the others. Since a light fell from the sky when we arrived, it must have exposed our whereabouts. We can't stay here for long. Let's leave quickly. Okay. The small demon's information made everyone understand the seriousness of the situation. They hurriedly got up and left. The plaque of the Tempest Temple is a Buddha's item after all. It should be somewhat magical. Maybe it'll be of some help to us. Gu Chongqing saw the plaque of the Tempest Temple on the ground, and said to the others. He waved his hand and put the plaque away. That's good. After putting it away in the storage ring, even if the plaque could attract monsters, it shouldn't reveal any aura. Everyone hurriedly left the temple and stepped into the vast unknown world. Chapter 8:16. Boom, boom, boom. When they stepped out of the temple, they saw demon aura rising into the sky. Demon wind howled and dark clouds rolled. Countless monsters rushed to the temple from all directions. What's the commotion? When everyone saw this scene, their faces were filled with shock. There were at least 6 half-step exterior scenery monsters. They rode on demon wind and brought countless small monsters to rush over from all directions. It must have been the so-called pillar of light that soared into the sky that attracted the demons. Everyone's expression was solemn. Not to mention the 6 half-step exterior scenery monsters, even the thousands of small monsters were enough to kill them. Was the death task so terrifying? Run! In such a situation, staying near the temple was equivalent to courting death. They jumped up and rushed out of the temple, plunging into the vast mountains. I exchanged for some breath-holding pills. Demons have sharp noses. Don't let them smell us. Gu Chongqing took out a bottle of pills and swallowed one. Then he handed it to the others. Brother Gu, you're so thoughtful. They took the pills and admired Gu Chongqing even more. To be so thorough and make such preparations in advance, it was truly amazing. One had to know that among the monsters, wolves, dogs, and other monsters all had very sensitive noses. If they smelled them, they would not be able to escape. Ha ha! Gu Chongqing smiled but did not answer. Because he now knew that his master of samsara was different from the others. They all had to enter the samsara space to exchange for the items. But Gu Chongqing could exchange at any time. As long as he had karma points, he could exchange for anything he wanted at any time. Gu Chongqing had just exchanged for the breath-holding pill. Let's find a cave to hide in. The breath-holding pill could only eliminate everyone's breath. If they were exposed to the monsters, they would still be killed. Let me do a divination. A few copper coins appeared in Guin's hand. He sprinkled them and did a divination. To the east. Guhuan reached out and pointed to the east. That direction was where Gu Chongqing was standing. Go! At this time, tens of thousands of demons had gathered, and no direction was safe. The so-called good or bad luck was just a psychological comfort. Everyone sped along, passing through mountains and ridges as they rushed towards the east. The east is indeed auspicious. After running for a while, they did not encounter any wild demons. Furthermore, they discovered a cave that was very suitable for hiding. After hiding in the cave, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. It would be great if I could hide like this for 7 days. Luo Xingyi heaved a long sigh and found a place to sit down. He sat down cross-legged to cultivate his qi and recover his full strength as soon as possible. There's no such thing. If a death mission could be avoided so easily, it wouldn't be a death mission anymore. Everyone stopped talking and seized the time to meditate and train their qi. In the previous 2 outbursts, the main forces who had made the first move had sustained severe injuries. If they didn't recover quickly, they wouldn't be able to deal with the upcoming battle. The night passed in silence. That night, several powerful demonic auras swept across the sky. Fortunately, their target was the temple and none of them landed. This allowed everyone to pass the first day peacefully. The next morning, a ray of sunlight shone into the cave. After a night of meditation, everyone had recovered their full strength. With their strength recovered, they also gained some confidence. They cautiously walked out of the cave and looked around. Everyone's faces were pale. It's a carpet search? Looking around, he saw that the ground around him was filled with countless small demons. Tens of thousands of lesser beasts joined together to sweep through the area. Not even a corner was spared. Seeing this, everyone's faces turned pale. Sure enough, it's impossible to avoid a death mission. Under such a carpet search, unless everyone reached the advanced level of 8-9 mysteries and turned into stone, there was no way to avoid it. But with the advanced level of 8-9 mysteries, there was no need to hide. What should we do? It was a dead end in front of them. If they ran out, they would have to face countless demons and 6 half-step exterior scenery kings. Once they were exposed, they would be courting death. If they didn't run, they would be found by the demons sooner or later. If they stayed here, they would be waiting for death. Should they be courting death? Or waiting for death? Can we negotiate? Gu Huai looked at the demons that covered the mountains outside and his body trembled. Negotiate? They'll discuss with you first whether to fry or steam. Little Meng rolled his eyes, tightened his belt, and picked up his long saber. There's a chance of survival if we break out. If we stay here, we'll die. Wait. Negotiation is not impossible. Zhang Yuanshan pondered for a while and turned to look at everyone. Earlier, the small demon said that they saw the light and said that the opportunity had arrived. Opportunity? The opportunity to find the whereabouts of the great sage? How the hell do we know what the opportunity is? Luo Xingyi stomped his feet gloomily. The whereabouts of the great sage? Isn't it obvious? They attacked Holy Mountain and must have died there. Do you think Holy Mountain of Buddha is so easy to attack? Based on Little Meng's understanding of the journey to the west, even if Buddha died inexplicably, there were still Manjushri and Samantabhadra in Holy Mountain. How many bodhisattvas and arhats were there in Holy Mountain? Holy Mountain? Opportunity? Gu Chongqing suddenly raised his head. Do you still remember the temple where we first appeared? The plaque of Big Lane Temple is the only thing related to Holy Mountain. That's right. Everyone's eyes lit up when they heard Gu Chongqing's words. They remembered the information they got from the small demon. Everyone appeared in the temple. A beam of light shot up into the sky. The demon said that this was the opportunity. There was a plaque of Big Lane Temple in the temple. That meant the opportunity is that plaque. Everyone looked up at Gu Chongqing. I didn't expect that I'd keep this. It's the key to breaking out of this situation. Gu Chongqing smiled and took out the plaque of Big Lane Temple. He handed it to Little Meng. You're the only one here who's related to Buddhism. You can study this. Only Little Meng was from Buddhism. It was better to let a monk handle something that belonged to a monk. I haven't been a monk for many years. Little Meng touched his head and reached out to take the plaque. If the opportunity is to enter Holy Mountain, then we don't have to worry about the demons outside. If they could find a way to enter Holy Mountain and hide there, the demons outside would not be able to find them. But how could they enter Holy Mountain? I'm just a fake monk. When I was in Shaolin Temple, I only practiced martial arts. I didn't even read many Buddhist scriptures. How would I know how to enter Holy Mountain? Where to find Holy Mountain? Little Meng's heart skipped a beat. He reached out to take a small jade Buddha from his chest. His Suziyuan's body once had a similar small jade Buddha. The first time he entered the reincarnation space, the jade Buddha broke. Later, in a reincarnation mission, he received the same jade Buddha and a sentence. Where to find Holy Mountain? Wasn't the current situation suitable? Chapter 8:17. I don't know what will happen next. Little Meng took out the small jade Buddha and turned to look at the crowd. If we can open Spirited Mountain, it may be a way out. If we can't, we're all dead. Since we'll die sooner or later, what's there to be afraid of? Jiang Jiwei flicked her long sword and smiled carelessly. Exactly. Everyone nodded. In that case, I'll try. Little Meng reached out and pressed the small jade Buddha on the plaque of Big Lane Temple. He took a deep breath and shouted, Namo Shakyamuni Rulai. Deliver all living beings and cross all suffering. For a fake monk like Little Meng, this Buddha's name was really a last-minute effort. Namo Shakyamuni Rulai. A mighty Buddha's name sounded like thunder, shaking heaven and earth. This Buddha's name did not come from Little Meng, but from the plaque of Big Lane Temple. Buzz, the plaque of Big Lane Temple trembled and the mighty Buddha's light soared into the sky. The Buddha's light as clear as glass diffused. It was bright, wise, and merciful. As this Buddhist light spread out, everyone felt as if their entire bodies, from their bodies to their souls, had been purified. The light gathered and turned into an illusory door with Buddha's light. The small jade Buddha flew out and was embedded in the light door. The illusory door slowly opened, revealing a scene of dense Buddha's light. The divine light was vast and clear, and the Buddha's sound was heard. It's really here. Everyone's faces were filled with joy. This was truly a miracle. The movement just now must have alerted the monsters outside. Let's go. They did not dare to delay and rushed into the Buddha's light door. If we want to enter Spirited Mountain, this plaque will be of great use. Little Meng reached out and lifted the plaque of Big Lane Temple. He held it in his hand and stepped into the light door. The opportunity has appeared. Quick, quick. 6 kings of half-step exterior scenery and Murky, the king of emerald waves, rode the evil wind and rushed over. Damn it! The door of convenience is about to close. The door in front of them that was materialized by the Buddha's light was slowly closing. This made the great kings feel shocked and anxious as they rushed towards the door of light. The demon in front of him wore a phoenix-winged purple-gold crown. Pheasant feathers used as phoenix feathers. He was wearing a golden chainmail. This was real gold. He was wearing a pair of lotus-root silk cloud walking shoes. I don't know what kind of silk it is. Fathead Fish, who was dressed like a great sage, held a pitchfork in his hand and rode a wave as he led the charge. Quick, quick, faster! Fathead Fish roared angrily. It risked its life and plunged into the light door just as it was about to close. When Fathead Fish rushed in, the light door exploded and disappeared without a trace. Spiritual Mountain is right in front of us, but we can't enter. I hate this. A few kings who had fallen behind for a moment were so angry that they beat their chests and stomped their feet, crying and wailing. "This is Mount Numinous?" Gu Chongqing, Little Meng, and the others passed through the light door and appeared in a strange world. Buddha's light flickered in front of them, and Zen chants sounded in their ears. In front of them was a huge and boundless mountain that they could not see the peak or the end of. No wonder it's the holy land of Buddhism. The mountain was so huge that it was boundless. It was like a vast and boundless world. It was simply unimaginable. The light door disappeared after we came in? It seems that it's easy to hide here for 7 days. Guhuan walked at the back. He turned his head and looked at the dissipating light door behind him. Then he turned back and laughed at everyone with a relaxed face. "Watch out." At this time, Gu Chongqing and the others looked behind Guhuan in horror. They all waved their swords and rushed forward. What? Guhuan was shocked and quickly looked back. He saw a fat head fish dressed like a great sage suddenly appear behind him. Its huge fish mouth, full of fangs, opened slightly and let out a cold laugh. Puff! The sharp steel fork pierced through his chest. Guhuan looked at the huge hole in his chest in panic. Looking at the blood spurting out, he stretched out his hand with difficulty. Finally, his neck tilted and he stopped breathing. Guhuan! A teammate died in front of him. Little Meng was furious. He ran the 8-9 mysteries and poured all his genuine qi into the purple deceased sword. He slashed at the fat head fish fiercely. The purple-red sword qi soared into the sky and tore the sky. Little Meng seemed to have exhausted all his strength. His limbs were weak and his body trembled slightly. You're quite capable." The fat head fish grinned and waved the harpoon in his hand. Waves of light appeared in the sky. Waves rolled and raging tides surged. It was as if a great river was surging and the heavenly river was pouring down. Boom! The purple-red sword qi hit the waves and splashed countless water like a rainstorm. Then, the sword qi dissipated in the waves. Clang! A sound of zither rushed out. Above the 9th heaven, a clear and sonorous sound came. It was the phoenix cry in the 9th heaven. It was the phoenix cry in the 9th heaven in the 12 sounds of Longhuan. The Ruan family of Langia was the most powerful martial art. Only those born with zither hearts could practice it. The sound of the phoenix cry made the fat head fish tremble as if he was struck by lightning. Puff! Ruan Yushu spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Anata sword. A bright sword light rushed out. Jiang Jiwei waved her sword and the sharp sword qi went straight between the fat head fish's eyebrows. Haoran's sword. A sword light rose like the sun in the east. Gu Chongqing in a cyan robe flew out and waved his sword. Yin and Yang sword. Zhang Yuanshan roared and waved the samsara of life and death. The sword light alternated between light and darkness. Book of the Chaos, Azure Snow. Qi Jingyan waved his sword and ice and snow burst out. Fist of the Great Mountain. Luo Xingyi waved his fist with mountain-like strength. 5 poisons powder. Fu Jinjin waved her hand and shot a bullet at the fat head fish. At this moment, everyone in the team took action. In addition to the idea of revenge for Go Huan, they also wanted to fight with all their might or they would be killed. Under the fat head fish's attack, huge waves surged up to the sky as if a big river appeared in front of them. The waves were turbulent and endless. It was already in the exterior realm. Looking at the fat head fish's appearance and strength, its identity was obvious. The king of emerald waves, Murky. The invincible king within 800 miles, a monster in the exterior realm. Roar! Even though the fat head fish's divine soul was attacked by the heavenly phoenix cry, it was still a monster of the exterior. When it was in danger, it still had the means to fight back. With a roar, the fat head fish opened its mouth and a light rushed out. A crystal-clear bead appeared in front of the fat head fish. It seemed to be condensed by endless water light. Inside the bead there was the sound of waves rolling. Boom! A sky full of water rushed up, like a water curtain, blocking in front of Fathead Fish. Boom! 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 The continuous attacks hit the water curtain, splashing water all over the sky like a torrential downpour. Crack! Cracks appeared on the translucent bead. The fat fish coughed out a mouthful of blood and staggered back a few steps. At the same time, the water curtain collapsed and the mighty waves swept out. Like being hit by a raging tide, the people who had just attacked were hit by the wave. They flew out one by one and fell to the ground far away. The violent impact made them vomit blood and fall to the ground. The power of the exterior realm was horrible. Chapter 8:18. You're all dead. Murky rode on the Tianshui light and stood at the head of the tide. He looked at the weary people below with a ferocious expression. His demon chi soared into the sky. He had been ambushed. If not for the damage to his monster elixir, he would have been defeated. How dare a few humans, a bunch of food, hurt me? How dare they? What should we do? They had tried their best in the previous round of attacks, but they had not caused much damage to Murky. How can we fight this battle? 1,000 karma points in exchange for a Chongqing sword chi of the first heaven of the exterior. Gu Chongqing would not be stingy with his karma point. He spent 1,000 karma points in exchange for an exterior attack. Clang! A ray of sword chi soared into the sky. The sharp and cold sword radiance was like a white rainbow piercing the sun, soaring into the sky. As the sword slashed out, the heaven and earth yuan chi in the air gathered crazily and boiled. Endless chi of metal condensed and turned into a ray of sword radiance. A white rainbow pierced the sky. This is the surging heaven and earth yuan chi, and the incomparably sharp metal chi caused the surrounding heaven and earth to shine with white light. The sword chi stirred up the wind and clouds, tearing the sky apart. When everyone saw this sword chi, their faces were filled with shock. Is this the exterior? Brother Gu has broken through. Did he really break through at the critical moment? Damn it! Murky trembled at the sight of the sword chi. How could such a powerful swordsmanship exist? Murky had just entered the exterior, and was not even at the first heaven. Although there was a huge difference between the exterior and the enlightened apertures, Murky was at the bottom of the exterior realm. Run! With a strange cry, Chuang Erba turned around and ran away like a stream of water. Chongqing sword chi, white rainbow piercing the sun. Even though the fat fish had run away, Gu Chongqing had already exchanged for this attack. He could not waste it. He had to give it a hard blow first. He swung his sword. The mighty white rainbow tore the sky apart. It cut through the wind and clouds, broke through the water, and hit the fat fish hard. Murky screamed in agony. His phoenix feather purple gold crown was broken, his golden chain mail was broken, and his pitch-black steel fork was broken in half. A deep gash appeared from his left shoulder to his right leg. Blood gushed out of his wound. His bones were visible. If it weren't for the pitchfork, chainmail, and the fish scales on its body, this sword would have cut it in half. Fathead Fish screamed all the way as it fled, not even daring to look back. Brother Gu Chongqing had reached the exterior level? Everyone was shocked. This was simply a myth. He was even more terrifying than Bai Zhe. It's just a one-time use item. Gu Chongqing shook his head. I haven't even reached oneness of heaven and men. How can I break through the exterior? I see. Everyone nodded. The dominator of samsara in the 6 realms did have a one-time item. For example, the demon-revealing mirror that everyone had exchanged for could be used 3 times, but in essence, it was not much different from a single-use item. Fathead Fish won't be coming for the time being. Let's quickly enter the holy mountain. They did not know if this sword could scare Fathead Fish, so they hurried to bury Go Huaiyan's body and hurried to the holy mountain. Splash! When they reached the foot of the spirit mountain, a vast river blocked their path. The river looked ordinary and there was nothing unusual about it, but could a river beside the holy mountain be an ordinary river? According to the Buddhist scriptures, everything in the river of the holy mountain sinks. Little Meng broke off a dead branch and threw it into the river. In an instant, the branch sank like gold and iron. Fortunately, we have this. Picking up the plaque of the Big Lane Temple, Little Meng smiled. The Gautama Buddha saves all sentient beings. It will be easy for him to cross the river. The plaque floated in the water and did not sink. This signboard was about 10 feet long. Since they all had lightness skills, they could still fit it if they squeezed together. Stepping on the plaque, they all crossed the river together. The plaque of the Big Lane Temple was indeed magical. Even if the waves in the river were rolling and surging, everyone stood on the plaque as if they were walking on flat ground and did not sway at all. As they crossed the river and the waves rolled, everyone felt that they seemed to have taken off the shackles and unshackles. Their whole body was refreshed from head to toe. My aptitude has improved? Everyone was surprised to find that the genuine qi in their body flowed more smoothly and freely. Between breaths, the qi of heaven and earth rolled in. It was several times better than before. Reborn, shed the mortal body. Little Meng smiled and pointed to the river. Look, that is our mortal body. Looking in the direction that Little Meng was pointing at, everyone was shocked to find that there was another Little Meng slowly sinking into the water. Sure enough, we shed the mortal body. They had not officially set foot on the holy mountain, but they had such an opportunity. Everyone was very happy. The holy mountain of the Gautama Buddha was indeed extraordinary. Soon after, everyone reached the other side. After walking for a while, a magnificent stone gate stood at the foot of the mountain. At this moment, the stone gate was already tattered, but it still looked magical. This dilapidated stone door actually covered everything behind it. It could not be seen or heard, as if it was isolated from the world. Once we pass through this gate, we will officially enter the holy mountain. Buddhists opened the door of convenience. Naturally, the stone gate of the holy mountain would not stop anyone. Just as they were about to enter the holy mountain, everyone composed themselves and stepped through the stone gate. It was as if they had passed through endless time and space. In a flash of light, everyone arrived at another world. Boom! Strong winds blew, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Countless flashes of lightning and gusts of wind howled. The lightning and wind were like coiling dragons. In the middle of the wind and lightning, a gigantic iron rod could be vaguely seen. It was like a pillar that supported the heavens with golden hoops on both ends. Around the iron rod, there were numerous green lotus flowers that bloomed and withered. Every single lotus seemed to contain a world that was filled with stars and spiraling galaxies. It was vast and boundless. I, old sun, will not cultivate in the afterlife. A thunderous roar reverberated through the ages and shook the world. The great sage, heaven's equal. Everyone was dumbfounded when they heard the roar and saw the Jingu Bang that extended to the heavens. Whether it was the transmigrator Xiao Meng or the others in the local world, they were all stunned by the scene in front of them. Such heaven-shaking divine might seem to have even penetrated Spirit Mountain. What kind of strength was this? The Jingu Bang seems to be suppressing something. Seeing the Jingu Bang that seemed to have penetrated the holy mountain from the top of the mountain, Ruan Shuyu frowned and said in confusion, "It might not be suppressing. Maybe it's protecting?" Gu Chongqing looked up at the Jingu Bang and said leisurely, "Remember what the demons said about looking for the great sage? The great sages attacked the holy mountain and never returned. Either they are all dead or the Jingu Bang is protecting them." "That's none of our business." Xiao Meng shook his head. "How could they provoke a great sage with their measly strength? Let's move on. We can return after hiding in the holy mountain for a few days." Once Murky attacked again, no one could stop him. The holy mountain was their only way out. Something happened in the morning, so I only wrote one chapter. Chapter 8:19. Should we do something to the spiritual mountain? Li Yu's gaze pierced through the void and looked at the journey to the west. He saw the gigantic rod that reached the heavens, the five-finger mountain, and the Bodhi tree. A playful smile appeared on his face. His posture is so good. If I don't kick him, I really won't feel comfortable. Reaching out his hand to knock on the table, a faint smile appeared on Li Yu's face. Ananda, I still scared you, right? Li Yu definitely couldn't expose himself. If he wanted to play a game with Ananda, he naturally had to think of other ways. In that world, I also took in a spiritual mountain, as well as the body of faith of the great Emperor Amitabha. Because his cultivation path did not match, I did not arrange for him to stay in the immortal mansion of the South Parting Island. Back then, the body of faith of the great Emperor Amitabha had carried the spiritual mountain and hundreds of millions of believers with the intention of opening the immortal road and entering the immortal domain. All the believers had died, and he had also fallen into Li Yu's hands. Isn't this world particular about self and additional self? The Amitabha from another world, according to this world, is the additional self of the Amitabha. The body of faith of the great Emperor Amitabha was also a great emperor. According to the division of strength in this world, his combat strength was definitely not inferior to the legendary realm. However, the great Emperor Amitabha could only act cool and run away. If he was caught by the Amitabha of this world, it would be troublesome. Li Yu chuckled and planned to play a game with Ananda. With the shell of the great Emperor Amitabha, I will act cool and run away. With the nature of the system, the supreme beings of this world shouldn't be able to find any clues. Even at Li Yu's current immortal emperor realm, he still couldn't find the existence of this system. He still hadn't figured out what the system was, so he didn't believe that the supreme beings of this world would be able to see the existence of this system. Then I'll give you a fright. The sudden appearance of the great Emperor Amitabha would definitely cause people to misunderstand that the Amitabha had returned. This way it should be a mess, right? Making Amitabha the scapegoat and not being able to find out who made him the scapegoat, presumably, it would be very interesting, right? He couldn't hold it in any longer. Young man, you guys play for a while. When the time comes, I'll let you guys watch a good show. Li Yu smiled, retracted his gaze, and began to prepare to stir up trouble. Spirit Mountain. Little Meng and the others walked along the mountain path. Fat Head Fish is back. Gu Chongqing turned his head and looked behind him. The fat fish was riding on the water light and following them from afar. They stayed far away, neither advancing nor attacking. They simply followed from afar. This guy still hasn't given up on his evil intentions. Everyone also understood that Fat Head Fish would definitely not let go of the opportunity to enter the spiritual mountain. It didn't attack because it was frightened by Gu Chongqing's sword. It didn't dare to take the risk. However, it wanted to enter Spirit Mountain, so it could only follow from afar. To everyone, this was a huge problem. We can only move forward. With Fat Head Fish blocking their way back, everyone had to move forward. As they walked along the mountain path, the wind whistled around them, revealing a gloomy and terrifying aura. It made one shiver as if winter had arrived. The sacred ground of Spirit Mountain is like hell. What exactly happened back then? It was supposed to be a place where Buddha's light shone. Why was it so gloomy and terrifying like hell? Over there, little Meng, who was leading the way, suddenly stopped in his tracks. He pointed at the mountain path in front with a solemn expression. Hiss! Everyone gasped when they saw the situation in front of them. There was a huge snake that was hundreds of feet long. It was a dead snake. Its body was dark and gloomy. There was no vitality at all. Yellow rotten liquid flowed on its huge body, revealing its white bones. Black chi surged all over its body. The vast black chi was gloomy and terrifying, revealing a cold and deathly stillness. The vast and boundless aura was like a vast and boundless ocean. It was also like the entire sky had collapsed. It heavily pressed down on everyone's hearts, causing them to tremble and their minds to tremble. What kind of power is this? Everyone trembled at the sight of the huge dead snake. They could not summon up the will to resist. It's either a half-step to Dharmakaya or a grandmaster. As Su Wuming's disciple, Jiang Jiwei had some understanding of this kind of power. However, limited by her own strength, she could not make an accurate judgment. A half-step to Dharmakaya, a grandmaster, everyone's hearts turned cold as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. If this thing was dead, it would be fine. If it could still move, the consequences would be unimaginable. Boom! Just as everyone was bewildered, the dead snake suddenly moved. The slightest movement of its enormous body caused a series of violent rumbles to ring out in the surroundings. Swoosh! Its closed eyes suddenly opened. Its blood-red eyeballs were like two red lanterns, emitting a dazzling bloody light. Snake dang! Behind them, Fathead Fish, who was following far behind, screamed and turned to run when it saw the huge snake in front of it. Even Fathead Fish was scared away. This Snake Dang must be a terrifying monster. However, Fathead Fish could run because it was far away. Little Meng and the others did not even have a chance to run. They were in the attack range of Snake Dang and had no chance to escape. All the corpses on Spirited Mountain have turned? Have they turned into zombies? How many demons have died in the attack? How many bodhisattvas and arhats have died? How terrifying would it be if all the corpses have turned? Thinking of this situation, everyone shuddered. Spirited Mountain is not a way out, it's a dead end. Amitabha, help us! Fu Jinjin hugged Zhang Yuanshan's arm tightly. Her face was pale as she chanted the name of Buddha. Little Meng was stunned when he heard the name of Buddha. This is Spirited Mountain. What do you mean by saying Amitabha in Gautama Buddha's Spirited Mountain? Isn't this the same as saying Confucius in Mencius's house? Little Meng wanted to complain, but he was not in the mood to do so. At this moment, a change quietly occurred. In Gu Chongqing's samsara space, a talisman burned without him noticing. Amitabha! The name of Buddha sounded like thunder, shaking heaven and earth. The mighty light of Buddha shot up to the sky and covered the earth. Between heaven and earth, there was only the endless light of Buddha. It covered the entire sky and lit up the land. Flowers fell from the sky and golden springs gushed from the ground. Amidst the Buddhist light that filled the sky, a huge Buddha statue appeared. It was golden and had a merciful face. Suddenly it was Amitabha. Holy **T. Little Meng was stunned. Can I really call him Confucius in Mencius' house? Oh no. Can I really call him Amitabha in Gautama Buddha's house? And it works as soon as I call it? It works as soon as I call it? Remove all karma and attain the Pure Land. Namo Amitabha Night. In the light of Buddha, the golden Buddha put his palms together and chanted the Buddhist scriptures with a merciful face. Rebirth Mantra. Little Meng, who used to be a bald thief, knew about the rebirth mantra of Amitabha. With this merit, I am willing to consecrate the Pure Land of Buddha. To report the 4 great favors, I have to endure 3 hardships. If you see or hear it, you will be enlightened. With this Sambhogakaya, we will live together in the Pure Land. The vast and mighty Buddha's light, as clear as glass, swept out like a tidal wave, covering the entire Spirited Mountain. Namo Amitabha. At this moment, the entire Spirit Mountain was filled with countless Buddhist chants, and beams of light of Buddha rose into the sky. In the light of Buddha, the broken bodies of bodhisattvas and arhats, whose faces were covered in blood and tears, rose into the sky and burned their broken bodies. In the flames, these arhats and bodhisattvas seemed to have been liberated. They put their palms together and turned into beams of light with smiles on their faces. They were cast into the hands of the Amitabha Buddha in midair. The hands of the Amitabha Buddha were as clear as glass and shining with infinite light, as if there was a pure land. As for the mutated demons, like snake dang, they turned into torches in the light of Buddha. Their souls turned into beams of light and were cast into the Buddhist kingdom in the palm. In a moment, the entire spirit mountain was cleansed. There was no trace of Inchi left. It had turned into a sacred and glorious land. Amitabha! Why is he here? Why did he come back? In the depths of the spirit mountain, a guy who looked exactly like Little Meng jumped up in shock when he saw the light and the Buddha statue. This man was Ananda. Amitabha? Why is he here now? What the hell is going on? At this moment, in the void of chaos, terrifying beings woke up from their slumber. They looked at the world of the journey to the west and the sky above the spirit mountain in shock. Amitabha has appeared? How is this possible? At this moment, countless mighty figures in the world were scared out of their wits. They were so scared that their faces were pale and they were sweating all over. Elder Master, this is, in a certain space, a boy looked in the direction of the spiritual mountain in shock and cried out in shock. In front of the boy, a white-haired old Taoist was sitting cross-legged in front of a huge alchemy furnace. His eyes were half closed, as if he was in a deep sleep. "Don't worry about him," the white-haired old Taoist said, and closed his eyes to doze off again. The same scene happened in many places and in many spaces. Some changed their faces and quickly pinched their fingers to calculate. Some were inexplicably horrified and lost their wit. Some ignored them and continued to sleep. Some laughed involuntarily. How interesting! There seemed to be a flash of Buddha's light in the chaos, but there seemed to be no change. I can't figure it out? The arrival of Amitabha was just because that woman chanted the name of Buddha? How is this possible? Are you kidding me? Ananda kept pinching his fingers to calculate, but the result was the same. Because that woman called Fu Jinjin chanted the name of Buddha. Then Amitabha appeared. Are you kidding me? How many people in the world are chanting the name of Buddha? Why don't you come when others are chanting the name of Buddha? Why do you come when this woman chanted the name of Buddha? Ananda was going crazy. He was too busy today and couldn't update at 6. This chapter had 3,000 words. The number of words was not much less. Chapter 8:20. At this moment, Ananda was a little flustered. Amitabha, what do you want? His original body was still suppressed under the 5 Elements mountain, and the one who came out now was only an avatar. If Amitabha took this avatar, there would be nothing left to play with. However, Ananda did not dare to make any moves. Against an existence like Amitabha, even if he was at his peak, he would not be a match. Not to mention now. Ananda was frightened, but the other guy was even more frightened. Amitabha, even Amitabha is here? Murky, who had been following Little Meng and the others up the spirit mountain, was so frightened that he fell to his knees with a thud. It's over. It's over. Murky buried his head in the ground and trembled all over, not even daring to raise his head. The great sage and the others have attacked Spirit Mountain. They've even turned Spirit Mountain into this. Although Spirit Mountain is Gautama Buddha's place, it's still part of Buddhism. Amitabha, since Buddha has come here, will he conveniently take me in? This kind of thing seemed very possible. He had eaten so many people and killed so many people. What a great sin that was! Would he still have a good life if he fell into Amitabha's hands? He would not be able to see the light of day again without being suppressed for hundreds of years. However, Murky did not dare to move at all. He did not move, but someone else did. Go to hell. Little Meng took this opportunity to rush to Murky's side. Genuine chi burst out from his body and poured into the purple deceased sword. He slashed at Murky fiercely. Puff! The sword light whizzed past, and Murky was beheaded. The huge fish head rolled to the ground. Amitabha is here, and you still dare to attack? You still dare to kill? Murky breathed his last in disbelief. So what if he's Amitabha? I'm not a monk anymore, and I don't stop killing. Little Meng snorted and slowly sheathed his sword. Based on Little Meng's understanding of Amitabha, he would at most give a few words of advice. Little Meng was not a monk anymore, so he naturally had no scruples. Amitabha! A Buddhist chant resounded. The large Buddha in the air glanced at Little Meng but did not say or do anything. After the Buddhist chant, the Buddhist light that filled the sky instantly dissipated, and the golden Buddha disappeared without a trace. As expected, Amitabha doesn't care about this matter. Seeing the Amitabha Buddha leave, Little Meng felt relieved. In fact, he had only killed Murky because he was too timid. He's finally gone. He has nothing to do with me. Ananda also heaved a long sigh of relief. His heart that was in the air also relaxed. It's just that Amitabha Buddha made such a fuss just to expiate the sins of the spirited mountain? Are you really here to show mercy? Confused, Ananda had no idea what the Amitabha Buddha was up to. On the other side, the reincarnators heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that the death mission was over just like that? Zhenzhen, you are too awesome. Ruan Yushu looked at Fu Zhenzhen in shock. She could not believe it. You just have to chant Buddha and Buddha will come. Does Buddha belong to you? I just said it casually. I don't know. Fu Zhenzhen was completely confused. She did not know what was going on at all. Well, Fu Zhenzhen was really a scapegoat. There were countless powerful people in the world who also wanted to know what was going on. The result of the calculation showed that it was this girl who unintentionally chanted Amitabha Buddha, and then Amitabha came. It was simply a joke. In fact, it was a joke. The mastermind behind the scenes picked up the wine glass with a smile and drank it in one gulp. There's still plenty of time and opportunities. Let's play slowly. I originally planned to scare them and stir up trouble. I didn't expect to gain so much. After releasing Amitabha the Great and expiating the dead bodhisattvas and arhats on the spirited mountain with the rebirth mantra, Liu also gained a pile of sariras. The Buddha's palm was created by Buddha. The bodhisattvas and arhats on the spirited mountain all practice the Buddha's palm. And the sariras are the condensation of the bodhisattvas and arhats' cultivation. So, he got all the Buddha's palm. After analyzing these sariras and from the hands of these arhats and bodhisattvas, Liu gained the complete 9 styles of the Buddha's palm. No matter what, Buddha is still a strong person of the Nirvana realm. The Buddha's palm points directly to the Nirvana realm, and it can be used to verify the Mini by Zay's Glacier Sword aura. With the Buddha's palm as a reference, Liu could completely analyze the essence of this world's skills. Thus, the Glacier Sword art he created could be completely compatible with this world, and finally achieve the fruit of Tao. The exterior is to use one's own small world of the interior to interfere with the big world of the outside world, draw in the chi of heaven and earth, and integrate it into the attack. Above the exterior is Dharmakaya. Dharmakaya is divided into man immortal, earth immortal, and divine immortal. The so-called Dharmakaya is the Dharma golden body. It is to use the chi of heaven and earth to condense an energy body that is engraved with one's own rules. Then, the mind, Dharma form, and body are combined into one, transcending the mortal world and ascending the path of immortality. When the Dharmakaya is cultivated to the extreme, it is the legendary realm. From all the projected worlds outside the real world, one can search for one's own projection, which is the additional self. All the additional self will be combined into one. The proof is the only true self. At the legendary realm, one already had the characteristics of being everywhere. Countless additional self were the true self, and there was only one true self. In a sentence, it was, you are one and all. You are one and countless. After the legendary realm is the creation realm. The legend realm is spread across countless spaces, and the creation realm starts to touch time. After experiencing the scouring of the long river of time, one's own Tao is sublimated. Changing the rules of heaven and earth in a small area, and mastering a part of the power of time. The cultivation of the power of time in the creation realm was to lay the foundation. The real master of time was the Nirvana realm. The Nirvana realm has already jumped out of the long river of time, unifying all the past, present, and future selves, and condensing one's own Tao into the embryonic form of fruit of Tao. Mastering all the mysteries of the universe, one can return to the beginning of heaven and earth. In this realm, in a sentence, you are the moment and also the eternity. As for the final fruit of Tao, it wasn't something that could be deduced by the Buddha's palm. This legendary realm's self and additional self, as well as the Nirvana realm's unification of all the self on the long river of time, is very useful. Li Yu was now in the immortal emperor realm, and he could already control time and space. But he had never been involved in the cultivation of the additional self and the self. Before Emperor Huang became an immortal emperor, the dark immortal emperor went back to the long river of time and gave him a blow when he was weak. The dark immortal emperor suffered a backlash because of this. Li Yu frowned. This kind of situation should be caused by the different rules of the two worlds. After becoming an immortal emperor, the past had already been turned back and integrated into one, so there was no need to worry about being attacked by people who traced back time. But there were countless possibilities in the future. To occupy all these possibilities, it was impossible to do it without hundreds of millions of years of hard work. No wonder little Meng would choose, in this life, I don't ask about the past, and I don't cultivate the afterlife. Other than wanting to cut off the cause and effect of the past and future, I'm afraid he's also afraid of trouble. Li Yu understood this very well. I don't have so much time to waste here. A clerical error in the previous chapter, I wrote Fu Jinjin as Ruan Yushu. It has been changed. Chapter 821. That's not right. Li Yu was shocked and stood up. I'm in this world, so it's impossible for me to have a past life or an afterlife. Moreover, if you want to trace back to the river of time, my river of time isn't in this world either. Obviously, Li Yu was just a passerby in this world. He had traveled through countless worlds, and his river of time wasn't just a single world. Moreover, it was impossible for him to have a projection of his additional self in this world. Moreover, it was still unknown whether Li Yu had an additional self or not. I have to pay attention to this problem. Li Yu's face turned serious. If I can't complete these two crucial steps, it'll be troublesome. To advance to the legendary level, one needed to unify all the additional selves. To advance to the Nirvana realm, one needed to unify the past life, present life, and future life, as well as all the other selves in the river of time. Of course, there were ways to solve this problem, and there were two. However, Li Yu didn't want to use either of them. One way was to cast his own imprint into this world. He would leave his imprint in countless projected worlds and give birth to additional selves. However, in this way, Li Yu would become a person of this world. He didn't know when he would be free from the endless entanglement of karma. The other way was to use Bai Zai. Since he was using Bai Zai's alternate identity, he would use Bai Zai's identity to collect Bai Zai's additional selves. However, there was a bigger problem with this method. If he collected Bai Zai's additional selves, would it be Bai Zai that was cultivated in the end? Or would it be Li Yu? If he cultivated to the end and lost himself, wouldn't he be stupid? Let's try to see if my projection exists in this world. He released his spirit and sensed the endless void. He searched for his projection in the void. He divided his spirit into billions and scanned the heavens. After a while, Li Yu let out a long sigh. As expected, my projection doesn't exist in this world. As for tracing back time, Li Yu didn't have a past life or an afterlife in this world. He didn't have a past or a future. Isn't my current state the same as little Meng's future path? Don't ask about the past, don't cultivate the afterlife, only strive to be the sovereign of this world. In this world, Liu did not have a past life, nor did he have an afterlife. Even in this life, he had only been here for a short period of time. Furthermore, in this short period of time, no imprints were left behind. I see. Other than going back to the era of Heavenly Emperor Huang and deliberately leaving behind the past, Liu had no past or future in any world, only the present. Supremacy of a generation, this is the supremacy of a generation. There was no need to sever the past or the future. There was no need to sever the past or the future. Liu was the one and only. He was eternal. I'm really being stubborn. Liu laughed involuntarily and shook his head. His realm had long surpassed the rules of heaven and earth. He had long transcended the shackles of time and space. He had long surpassed the legendary level, and even his combat power had surpassed the Nirvana realm. Now he actually wanted to add another restriction on him. That was really putting the cart before the horse. Therefore, even though the Ice River Swordsman Bai Zhe has yet to step into the exterior realm, he already possesses the characteristics of the Nirvana realm. It was 1, but also 10,000. It was an instant, but also an eternity. Of course, this was meaningless. It was impossible for Liu to let this smuff of Bai Zhe reveal the essence of the Nirvana realm. Therefore, he treated it as if he had changed to a new profession and started training from level 1. However, there was no need to do those advancement quests and class change quests. The path has been paved, but I still have to continue using the reference technique. With the Buddha's palm in hand, he had already completely verified the Ice River sword art and pointed straight to the other side. However, in order to transcend the other side and achieve the Tao fruit, he still needed to learn from many sources. The future Little Meng has obtained the title of Heavenly Lord Yuanshi and also the inheritance of Heavenly Lord Yuanshi. The Heavenly Lord Yuanshi represents the primordial chaos. It is very consistent with my own path, so I must learn from it. Liu's path went from the qi of Xian Huang of the origin of matter to the qi of yin and yang of the origin of order, and finally returned to the primordial chaos. Therefore, the Heavenly Lord Yuanshi's Heavenly Golden Scripture and Premier 9 Seals were very worthy for Liu to learn from. Of course, I won't learn the Heavenly Golden Scripture and Premier 9 Seals completely. My Premier and the Premier of the Heavenly Lord Yuanshi can't be the same. Liu understood this very well. He had experienced it once when he became an emperor at the Huangtian Emperor's place. Everyone's path was different, so naturally, it was impossible to copy. However, Liu thought of another question. In my impression, there are still many worlds with the Heavenly Lord Yuanshi and the 3 pristines. What is the relationship between the 3 pristines of this world and the 3 pristines of other worlds? Since the Heavenly Lord Yuanshi of this world had the characteristics of the only one in all worlds, then, to another level, in all the worlds with the 3 pristines that Liu knew, was there also a Heavenly Lord Yuanshi who was above the heavens and was the only one in all worlds? This question didn't need to be answered for the time being. If it was really as Liu imagined, there was still a Heavenly Lord Yuanshi above the heavens and the myriad world. Then, he must have reached Liu's position of his final realm. The ultimate source of the myriad worlds, all space-time, and the immeasurable plane. The matter of Spirited Mountain is basically over. Although Ananda was left untouched, this was Little Meng's shackle. Of course, he had to break free himself. Ananda, as the most capable disciple of Buddha, had a reputation second only to Tathagata in Spirited Mountain. However, this guy was not a good person. Not only did he cause the demon race to attack Spirited Mountain, but he also killed all the bodhisattvas and arhats of Spirited Mountain when the demon race attacked Spirited Mountain. Ananda turned Buddha into a demon and turned Spirited Mountain into the 9 underworlds. Although he was suppressed by Buddha because of this, he could only split out an avatar until now. However, he stirred up a storm and brought chaos to the world, almost destroying the entire ancient era. Everything he did was nothing more than for the fruit of Tao. Unfortunately, he was still chopped up by Little Meng in the end. He can't even be considered the final boss. At most, he can be considered a passing boss. Liu smiled and looked at the endless void. This era is coming to an end. The next era will be started by the primitive Emperor Little Meng. At the critical moment of this era's birth and death, it is the time to achieve the fruit of Tao. A lot of people are making preparations, and all of them are making underhanded moves. Liu touched his chin and smiled. So, I'm scheming too. With a flick of his finger, a stream of light silently fell into Gu Chongqing's samsara space. Gu Chongqing, it's time to develop a few teammates. While Little Meng and the others had not reached the exterior and were not qualified to be on the investiture of the gods and had not controlled their life and death in the hands of Luya, he secretly replaced them and became the king of samsara. With the ability of the system, it's not a problem to hide from Luya, Ananda, and the others. When the time comes, let's see who will be the one to cheat who. Liu laughed. Chapter 822. The death task is over. Little Meng and the others heaved a sigh of relief when they heard the prompt from the dominator of samsara in 6 realms. Finally, we can go back. The death mission this time was too frightening. Even Amitabha came out. They were involved in a fight between 2 powerful figures. Even the slightest ripple could kill them. Everyone, I have something to give you. At this moment, Gu Chongqing took out a few talismans and passed one to each of them. This is good stuff. Remember, open it when you get back to the main world. What's this? Everyone was confused when they saw the talisman in their hands. They could not tell what it was. You'll know when you get back to the main world. Gu Chongqing nodded. Then everyone's figures began to fade. The dominator of samsara in 6 realms had started to send them back to the main world. Little Meng was in a trance and returned to a yard in Yi City in the main world. Gu Chongqing is being so mysterious. What is he doing? Little Meng took out the amulet that Gu Chongqing had given him and examined it closely. Little Meng could not tell what it was. It's a talisman. Open it and see. Little Meng knew Gu Chongqing well. Since Gu Chongqing said it so seriously, it must be something important. Little Meng opened the talisman without hesitation. Samsara traveler Gu Chongqing invites you to join God's team. Do you agree? The voice in his head stunned Little Meng. Then he smiled and shook his head. So he's being so mysterious. So he wants to team up. I agree. He had met Gu Chongqing in a few missions, but they were not in the same samsara square. Obviously, Gu Chongqing was not in their team. If he teamed up with Gu Chongqing, the team would be stronger. This was a good thing. Samsara traveler Meng Qi has joined God's team. God's invitation is a symbolic item for samsara travelers. It can send messages and has a storage space of 100 feet. It can change its appearance. Please choose your appearance. Little Meng heard another prompt right after he said agree. The invitation has become a symbolic item? Thinking of the word Lord God, Little Meng naturally thought of the Lord God's iconic wristwatch. You can choose the shape at will, and it even has a storage space of 10 feet? This Team Prime is really generous. With a single thought from Little Meng, the talisman exploded into a beam of light. When the light dissipated, a jade ring fell into Little Meng's hand. Sure enough, it's a storage space of 10 zhang. Little Meng grinned. It's a must-have for a transmigrator. It took me so long to get it. I guess I'm not doing so well. Ding. Your teammate Jiang Jiwei is online. Ding. Your teammate Zhang Yuanshan is online. Next were Wan Yushu, Fu Xinjin, Qi Jingyan, and Luo Shengyi. F***ck. Little Meng's mouth was wide open, and he couldn't close it for a long time. I've already transmigrated to another world, yet I can still hear such a familiar voice. Welcome, everyone, to the God King's team. Let's meet at Samsara Square. Just use the items that the invitation letters have turned into and say return to the party space in your heart. Gu Chongqing's voice was transmitted to everyone's mind. You can do that? Little Meng had always been passive when he entered the 6 realms of Samsara. He was pulled in by the dominator of Samsara in the 6 realms. Now this Team Prime could enter voluntarily? Return to the party space. With a single thought from Gu Chongqing, the world changed. Little Meng found himself in a huge square. It was a square made of white jade. It was quaint, exquisite, and elegant. Around the square, there were many arched halls with heavy eaves. It was quaint and exquisite. In the middle of the square, a light ball with a diameter of 10 zhang floated in the air. It emitted a faint white light, illuminating the entire square. It's really the Prime? Seeing this familiar light ball, Little Meng's body shook. No way. The dominator of Samsara in the 6 realms is a relative of the Prime? Little Meng. Gu Chongqing called out to him while Little Meng was still in a daze. Coming. Little Meng answered. He walked over to Gu Chongqing with a belly full of doubts. At this time, the others arrived as well. Everyone looked curiously at this unfamiliar Samsara square, their faces full of surprise. Everyone's here. We're teammates from now on. Gu Chongqing smiled and nodded. He pointed at the houses around the square. Those houses are our rooms in the Samsara square. Everyone can choose one. Also, if you want to exchange something, you can use the invitation letter as a prop. You can also exchange it with the light ball. 10 zhang of storage space. Gu Chongqing, you're so generous. Everyone raised their prime props. Some were bracelets, some were jade pendants, some were earrings, and some were necklaces. They all looked at Gu Chongqing in shock. Ruan Yushu's storage ring was equivalent to a precious weapon. Now, Gu Chongqing had given each of them a storage item with a bigger storage space? How rich was he? This isn't a gift from me. Gu Chongqing pointed at the light ball in the middle of the square. The dominator of Samsara gave it to me. I heard it's a basic configuration. Damn. Gu Chongqing, are you the dominator of Samsara's illegitimate son? Why is he so nice to you? Little Meng screamed. His mouth was wide open and he couldn't close it for a long time. Your basic configuration is a treasure like this? Who would believe that you have nothing to do with the dominator of Samsara? Gu Chongqing rolled his eyes. His face was gloomy. Come on. The exchange here is different from ours. Jiang Jiwei was looking at the exchange items through the prime god props that had turned into a bracelet. Jiang Jiwei cried out in surprise when she saw the exchange list in her mind. It's really different. Everyone quickly opened their prime god props and cried out in surprise when they saw the exchange items. Other than secret martial arts manuals, weapons, pills, and materials, there are also daily miscellaneous items to exchange. There's also a one-time skill exchange. Did you see that? There's also alchemy and weapon refining functions. You can provide your own materials to refine pills and weapons here. We can exchange in the main world? We don't have to return to the Samsara Square. We can exchange anytime, anywhere? That's so convenient. Wow. What's this? Team instant messaging? You can contact your teammates anytime, anywhere, no matter where you are? There's also a team shared storage? Screams rang out one after another. After looking at these things, everyone's eyes widened as they stared at Gu Chongqing. What's wrong? Gu Chongqing felt uncomfortable under everyone's stares. You're definitely the dominator of Samsara's illegitimate son. Little Meng jumped up and yelled. Compared to their reincarnation space, Gu Chongqing's reincarnation space was like a platinum deluxe version. Comparisons were odious. They were all samsara travelers, but how could they be treated so differently? Chapter 8:23. Alright, stop fooling around. Gu Chongqing knew that his reincarnation space was special, but he had never seen anyone else's reincarnation space. He didn't know the difference between them. We've gained a lot from the journey to the west. Gu Chongqing took out the bodies of the wolf demon, the 9-headed lion, and the fat-head fish. I have some more here. Ruan Yushu took out the wolf demon's hammers and the 9-headed lion's club. Apart from that, after the Amitabha cleansed the sacred mountain, everyone also searched the sacred mountain in the next few days. There were all kinds of broken Buddhist weapons and demon weapons. The most magical items were a green lamp and a plaque with the words Tempest Temple on it. Yes, the reincarnators didn't care about anything else when they searched the place. The sacred mountain was destroyed anyway. The signboard of the Great Lane Temple was useless there. If they took it, the Buddha wouldn't mind, right? The Lord of Samsara can appraise it for free. Everyone, help me clean up this mess. Gu Chongqing looked at the pile of junk in front of him and his mouth twitched. After Amitabha cleansed Spirited Mountain, everyone spent the next few days scraping the ground. If they saw something special, they would search it clean. Fortunately, the sacred mountain was too big. They only searched a small area in the past few days. But they had a lot of loot in this small area. Buddha's lamp. Little Meng used his ring to appraise the only intact green lamp. He was shocked by the result. The Buddha's lamp. It's a divine weapon. Boundless Buddhist light illuminates the world and the boundless world. It's capable of purifying evil, ghosts, and vengeful spirits, and igniting karma. It's capable of protecting oneself from all evil. Little Meng trembled when he read the description. A divine weapon. What did a divine weapon mean? It was the power of a Dharmakaya. With a divine weapon, he could do whatever he wanted. Unfortunately, Little Meng's face fell when he read the description. The green lamp is already broken and has lost the power of a divine weapon. It can only expel evil spirits and restrain evil spirits, but it can't burn cleanly. At the same time, it can shrink to the size of a bean. The flame won't burn anything, and it's equivalent to an ordinary precious weapon. The divine weapon had become a precious weapon, and it had dropped by a whole realm. He had fallen from Dharmakaya to the exterior. Well, at least it's a precious weapon. Other than that, the plaque of Great Lane Temple, that everybody had high hopes for, only had the function of opening the door of convenience to the spiritual mountain. With Gautama Buddha's realm, this plaque naturally can't have any other functions. No matter how many functions it has, it won't be of any use. Throwing away the signboard, all that was left was a pair of broken pieces. Regardless of whether it was a broken Buddhist artifact or a broken demon weapon, they could only be used as materials. They no longer had any other abilities. Even the seemingly intact Buddha's lamp, a divine weapon, had fallen to the level of a precious weapon. These broken Buddhist artifacts and demon weapons naturally did not leave behind any divine abilities. It just so happens that we can use these things to refine artifacts. Let's upgrade our weapons. In this journey to the West mission, if several precious weapons were used at the same time, Murky would not even be able to withstand a round of attacks and would be blown up on the spot. Therefore, in a situation where one's realm could not be broken through immediately, upgrading one's equipment was also an important way to improve one's strength. Exactly. The samsara space of this King God team also had the function of refining artifacts, which was perfect for the current situation. Therefore, everyone sat cross-legged in front of the pile of broken pieces and began refining artifacts. Following the instructions of the King God's tool, they rummaged through the pile of broken pieces and collected a pile of materials. My fogbow sword is already a superior refined weapon. This time, it can be upgraded to the level of a precious weapon. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, the fogbow sword in Jiang Jiwei's hand floated in front of her. The 5-colored brilliance lingered, and various materials flew out of the storage space one after another, melting into a ball of shining white, incomparably sharp molten metal. The molten metal fell onto the fogbow sword, and in a flash of 5-colored brilliance, it instantly merged into one. When the brilliance dissipated, the newly refined fogbow sword fell into Jiang Jiwei's hand. Fogbow sword, a lower-grade precious weapon. Jiang Jiwei sheathed the sword and reported the result of refining. Good. Me too. After that, everyone began to upgrade their weapons one by one. Since Little Meng had a precious weapon, the purple deceased sword, he upgraded his long saber to a precious weapon. Thunder Saber, a lower-grade precious weapon. This was Little Meng's newly upgraded long saber. Dragon Stripe Golden Sword, a lower-grade precious weapon. Qi Jingyan sheathed his sword, and the faint sound of a dragon's roar could be heard. Flying Snake Sword, a lower-grade precious weapon. Zhang Yuanshan patted the long sword at his waist, his face full of joy. Earth Furnace, a lower-grade precious weapon medicinal cauldron. In addition to refining elixirs and medicines, it can also release earth fire to kill enemies and protect oneself. Fu Jinjin smiled and put away a palm-sized red furnace. Jiu Shao Huan Pei, a lower-grade precious weapon musical instrument, the zither. Ruan Yushu touched the zither, nodded with a smile, and carried it on her back. Rock Fist, also a lower-grade precious weapon. In Luo Xingyi's hand was a pile of dark yellow boxing gloves, which were as hard as a rock and as heavy as a mountain. My long sword is also a lower-grade precious weapon. Haoran Sword. The light in Gu Chongqing's hand faded, and a magnificent and awe-inspiring long sword fell into his hand. Now everyone's weapons are precious weapons. The attack is not bad, but the defense needs to be strengthened. Pointing at the 3 monsters, Gu Chongqing smiled and said, "Wolf skin, lion skin, fish skin, and the rest of the junk can be used as armor for everyone." Among the 3 monsters, the smallest wolf monster was dozens of feet long. With the other half of the junk, everyone could be equipped with protective equipment. 1 inner armor, 1 outer robe. Murky scales and fish skin could be used to make an inner armor. Wolf skin and lion skin could be used to make an outer robe. Good. In this way we can attack and defend. Our strength will increase greatly. Everyone nodded with a smile and began to work. First, he skinned the 3 huge demonic beasts. After that, he picked out some tattered materials. Then, they went to the houses around Samsara Square. Each of them found a room, and after entering, they began to refine their own armor. Soon, everyone gathered in the square again. The Samsara Master is really resourceful. Everyone's clothes were still the same. On the surface, there was no change. However, in essence, this set of clothes was already a very powerful armor. Fish scale inner armor as thin as a cicada's wing and as light as a feather. Precious weapon level inner armor. Protective long robe, refined weapon level outer robe. These were Little Meng's armor and clothes. The others were similar to him. Murky was, after all, an exterior-level monster. Using its scales and other materials, it was able to make an inner armor of the precious weapon level. But the lion skin and wolf skin were not good enough. They could only be made into refined weapon-level clothes. Now we're going to be rich too. Everyone had 2 precious weapons and 1 refined weapon. This was already very rich. Chapter 8:24. Take this Buddha's lamp, Little Meng. In the team, only Xiao Meng was a monk. Other than him, no one else was suitable to use a monk's item. Okay. Who would complain about more precious weapons? Although Xiao Meng had a saber, a sword, and an inner armor, all of which were precious weapons, the Buddha's lamp would not be too much. He waved his hand and put the Buddha's lamp into the storage ring. Xiao Meng suddenly realized that he had a lot of possessions now. 4 precious weapons and a storage ring. Compared to the 4 families in Yi City, his possessions were even more powerful. Forget about the plaque of the Big Lane Temple. This thing is only used to open the door. And without the Dharma power of Buddhism, you can't open the door. Looking at the plaque of the Big Lane Temple, they threw it into the team public warehouse. The rest of the broken Buddhist weapons and demon weapons were collected by the Master of Samsara. They were exchanged for more than 1,000 karma points. Now, everyone has a main cultivation method and a complete set of weapons. What's left is to work on the moves. The main cultivation method could improve the cultivation realm, and the moves could improve the combat power. They complemented each other. Gu Chongqing smiled at everyone. It's still early for the next task. You can exchange anytime and anywhere. You can exchange for anything you want when you go back. Exactly. I'll take my leave then. This new reincarnation space was really too convenient and generous. Compared to the hard life before, this was what the samsara travelers should enjoy. Xiao Meng laughed, waved his hand, and left. Then, everyone left the samsara space and went back to their own places. Very good. You made another sneaky move without anyone noticing. Li Yu smiled and nodded. Put these people's souls under the protection of the system. Even if Luya writes their names on the investiture of the gods, even if Ananda uses the samsara seal to control the cycle of life and death, he can't do anything to them. Looking up at the endless void, Liu had a mocking look on his face. Unknowingly, the fish in the pond have escaped. When the truth is revealed, your expressions should be very interesting, right? As a samsara traveler, the master of the 6 Tao of samsara, he was assigned a task that went against his conscience. He was asked to kill his friends and family and bring disaster to the world. What should he do? This was the greatest helplessness and worry of the samsara travelers. Kill? His heart was unwilling. Not killing? He was about to be killed by the dominator of samsara in the 6 realms. This was a difficult choice. So, young man, you don't have to choose now. They can't do anything to you anymore. Liu knocked on the table and nodded with a smile. Of course, Liu was being kind, but that was not all. Gu Chongqing's samsara space was essentially a system. Everyone in this team was actually in the system. All the information was displayed in front of Liu. For example, as expected of the Devil Master, as expected of someone who could kill his way into the heavenly court and fight with the celestial emperor. What he has learned is as vast as the ocean. It's extraordinary. When Qi Jingyan, the successor of the Devil Master, entered the samsara space of the Master God team, all the Devil Master's inheritance that he had obtained fell into Liu's hands. All kinds of devil path martial arts and other martial arts. There are no less than 100,000 of them. Of course, these things were treasures to others. To Liu, they did not mean much. What was really useful was the essence of the Devil Master's flesh and blood. It's similar to being reborn from a drop of blood. Every drop of flesh and blood can be reborn, and one can imprint one's own true spirit and memory in the flesh and blood. Liu could tell that this so-called inheritance was actually a method of resurrection. What a pity! The Devil Master's true spirit mark is gone. In a battle between Nirvana Realm Masters, if the enemy was not completely wiped out from the river of time and space, they could not be killed at all. The death of a Nirvana Realm Master was truly and completely erased from the river of time and the endless void. Without the true spirit mark, the inheritance was really just an inheritance. The Devil Master's method of being reborn from a drop of blood is somewhat similar to my man's celestial martial art. But there is still a difference in essence. After all, the Devil Master was a devil. So, for his drop of blood to be reborn, it was to parasitize a host and then transform the host into a devil's body. There was still a difference between it and Liu's drop of blood that could directly reconstruct the body. This thing is just SOSO. There was not much value in the Devil Master's inheritance. Even those vast freedom heavenly devil true body, Inferno Emperor's true body, and Nether true body were just SOSO in Li Yu's eyes. Techniques that did not enter the Nirvana realm were meaningless. I just have to wait for the rest. But I still have to speed up the progress. It's a waste of time to let little Meng wander around Jianghu like this. Li Yu looked up at the void. The smile on his face was very strange. Gu Shaosang, the beacon of the Queen Mother of the West's return from chaos, is also a fish of the Queen Mother of the West. In the original Fate, Gu Shaosang fought against Fate alone against the Queen Mother of the West. After falling in love with little Meng, Gu Shaosang sacrificed the only chance for little Meng to escape from the control of the Queen Mother of the West. She could escape from the control of the Queen Mother of the West if she ate both of the present life fruit. But she gave one to little Meng. Because little Meng was also someone else's fish. In one of the death missions of the Dominator of Samsara in 6 realms, little Meng received a mission. Kill the demoness of Grand Luo, Gu Shaosang, or be obliterated. Then Gu Shaosang sacrificed herself. Little Meng was silent for 10 years, guarding Gu Xiaosang's tomb. She was a strange woman who bravely faced desperate situations, bravely fought, never gave up, and never bowed to fate. The Golden Emperor Queen Mother of the West was the biggest boss in the later stage, although she was conned by the 3 Pure Ones and little Meng in the end. But she also tortured little Meng and Gu Shaosang to death. Li Yu chuckled. Since you will be conned by others sooner or later, I will also conspire with you. I'm sure you won't mind if I trick you as well, right? With a flick of his finger, a message was sent into little Meng's Master God Tool storage ring. Random mission issued. Mission description. Demoness of Grand Luo, Gu Shaosang, obtained the Celestial Court Stone Tablet. Obtained the opportunity to enter the 9 levels of heaven of the ancient Celestial Court. Mission. Find Gu Shaosang and enter the ancient Celestial Court with her to explore the secrets of the Celestial Court. Mission reward. Reveal the truth of transmigration. A series of notifications suddenly sounded in his mind, making little Meng's whole body tremble. Regardless of the random mission or the demoness of Grand Luo, just the truth of transmigration alone scared little Meng so much that his face turned pale. As a transmigrator, what was he most afraid of? It was being found out that he was a transmigrator. Now, the biggest secret was found out by the Dominator of Samsara just like that? Little Meng broke out in a cold sweat, greatly shocked. Chapter 825. Well, since this world has countless time and space, it shouldn't be rare to travel through time and space. Little Meng remembered that he had traveled through many worlds to complete tasks with the Dominator of Samsara in 6 realms. According to this situation, traveling through time and space should not be a secret. After comforting himself, little Meng let out a long breath and slowly calmed down. This random task is very dangerous. Thinking of the horror of Siren of Grand Luo Gu Shaosang, who was ranked 4th on the ranking list of young masters, he could not defeat her. Little Meng knitted his brows tightly. The 9 levels of heaven of the ancient heavenly court. If it is the heavenly court that I know. Peach Garden, Jasper Lake, Heavenly River, Southern Heavenly Gate, Lingshao Palace, how dangerous would it be? Even in the legends of this world, the demonic lord attacked the heavenly court and caused it to fall. Logically speaking, the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals should have all died. However, wouldn't there be any immortal weapons or divine weapons left in the heavenly court? Wouldn't there be any immortal arrays or divine arrays left? If I go in like this, the slightest fluctuation of power can crush me into powder. Little Meng suddenly felt that this random task was more terrifying than the death task. Is it because we borrowed the power of Amitabha to complete our death mission? Is that why it's a punishment mission? Let's ask the others first. Little Meng picked up the storage ring and sent a message to his teammates. Did you receive any random tasks? What is a random task? We are all back. How can we receive any task? We don't have any. Everyone was talking at once. Little Meng understood that this was his personal task and no one else's. Well, this is a special favor from the dominator of samsara in 6 realms. Little Meng sighed and turned off the communication. Hint: my name is the dominator of samsara, not the dominator of samsara in 6 realms. Hearing this, Little Meng was stunned. Is there a difference between the dominator of samsara and the dominator of samsara in 6 realms? Let's not worry about this for now. Let's focus on the present. The present problem was the big problem. Although he had met Gu Shaosang several times, they were still enemies. Can the alliance and the tribe really team up? Even if we can team up, what if Gu Shaosang comes to save me? Or would you reward me with a strike of the Ajati matriarch, vacuum hometown? At this moment, Little Meng suddenly felt a strong sense of malice from this random task. Bah! A dog biting Lu Dongbin. You don't know how to appreciate good intentions. Li Yu glared at him and cursed angrily. Of course, Little Meng could not hear Li Yu's scolding. He frowned and thought about how to complete this task. First of all, we have to find Gu Shaosang. If they couldn't even find him, then there was no need to consider forming a party to clear the instance dungeon. But the Daluo sect's holy maiden, who was born in the evil sect, would definitely appear and disappear unpredictably even if she was traveling in Jianghu. Where could he find her? No matter what, I definitely won't be able to find Gu Shaosang if I stay at home. Let's go to the city and get in touch with the people of Jianghu and find out more about it. Little Meng walked out of the house and onto the streets of Yi City. River East was the core area of Great Jin and the most prosperous place in the world. Walking out of the house, not far away was a famous and bustling street in Yi City, Jade Bridge Street. At this moment, the shops on both sides of the street were decorated with lanterns and colored banners. The brilliant lights reflected in the Yi River that flowed through the city, as if the Milky Way had fallen from the sky. The lights were as brilliant as stars. This was one of the busiest streets in Yi City. There were all kinds of shops selling weapons, elixirs, secret manuals, banks, pawn shops, and restaurants. After crossing the Jade Bridge, there was a 5-kilometer-long pink alley and gold-squandering brothel. The place was filled with the sounds of orioles and swallows. It was a dazzling sight. Stepping onto the Jade Bridge, Little Meng's heart skipped a beat. He suddenly felt like he was being spied on. He looked up and saw a girl in a white cloak standing on the Jade Bridge with an exquisite silver hairpin in her hand. She looked at Little Meng with a sweet smile. Her features were picturesque and ethereal. Her eyes were like stars, bright and moving. Gu Shaosang. Little Meng's heart tightened and he subconsciously pressed on the hilt of the sword at his waist. Husband, does this hairpin look good on me? Gu Shaosang casually inserted the hairpin into her hair. The fluffy white hair on the cloak added a bit of playfulness and cuteness to her. The people on the bridge were weaving together and the lights flowed under the bridge. A beautiful girl gently called, "Husband." The scene was like a dream. Damn it. Fortunately, she didn't call him father. Little Meng would not find it strange no matter what a mental patient like Gu Shaosang did. One moment it was Yu Longzi and the next moment it was Gu Shaosang. This was obviously schizophrenia and multiple personality disorder. This kind of person, you can't keep up with her. Miss Shaosang is a natural beauty. She looks good on anything. Although Gu Shaosang made Little Meng face great pressure, he could not show his fear at this time. Little Meng looked calm and answered casually as if he was talking to someone casually. Husband, don't you understand my feelings? Why do you sound so distant? Do you really want Shaosang to dig out her heart for you to believe Shaosang? Gu Xiaosang's face was full of resentment and looked heartbroken. Well, let's talk about business. Little Meng really could not keep up with the mental patient. He had to change the topic. Miss Xiaosang, what brings you to Yi City? What reason does a wife need to see her husband? Gu Xiaosang smiled sweetly and shyly. Father, little Z misses you. Xiaosang misses you too. Our child misses you too. Damn it! Little Meng staggered. Did you really call him the father of your child? If Miss Xiaosang continues to talk like this, I won't keep you company. At this moment, Little Meng had no hope of completing the random task. It was too stressful to team up with a mental patient to complete the task. Even if I am reckless monk, I can't stand her cheating all the way. Husband, this concubine was bullied. I can only cry to you. Gu Xiaosang walked up to Little Meng with light steps and a fragrant wind. I chased after the successor of Mystic Fairy. That little bitch dared to hurt you. Of course, I won't let her go. Gu Xiaosang had used the secret voice-sending technique to speak to Lin Mengya. The successor of Mystic Fairy? Little Meng was stunned. When did I offend the ninth heaven fairy? Husband, you're still pretending. Gu Xiaosang pointed at the purple thunder god mark on the back of Little Meng's hand. Husband, you should know the relationship between the ninth heaven fairy and the overlord, right? Husband, you have the thunder god mark and are the best heir to the tyrant's invincible blade. Tell me, is the little bitch from the Mystic Fairy clan here to give you the tyrant's invincible blade and the inheritance of the overlord out of kindness, or is she here to capture you and turn you into a battle puppet of the Mystic Fairy clan? This is really an unexpected disaster. Little Meng was depressed. According to the style of the Mystic Fairy, they were one of the two branches of the same sect as the Bodhisattva of Joy. Even if Little Meng was reckless monk, how many bones would he have left after falling into the hands of the Mystic Fairy? Chapter 826. Your real purpose is to deal with the successor of Mystic Fairy, right? Little Meng was not a fool. He would not be fooled by Gu Xiaosang's words. The situation was obvious. Gu Xiaosang wanted to deal with the successor of Mystic Fairy. However, she was not strong enough, so she asked Little Meng to help her. In River East, where the righteous sects gathered, if the saintess of the Daluo sect was exposed, she could do nothing but run. Therefore, Gu Xiaosang had to hide her identity and deal with the successor of Mystic Fairy. She could only ask Little Meng for help. I'm here to help you. Why don't you believe me? Gu Xiaosang was heartbroken. Her eyes were filled with tears. Xiao Meng couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. As expected, the best actor is no match for schizophrenia. You can't completely believe Gu Xiaosang's words. The successor of Mystic Fairy was too horrifying. The Overlord was awesome, right? He was invincible in the Middle Ages. Then, he fell in love with the successor of Mystic Fairy. Then, he died. Gao Lan, the Emperor of North Zhou, was a Dharmakaya master. Then, he fell in love with the successor of Mystic Fairy. Then, he went crazy. There were simply too many such examples to count. There were too many heroes who fell under the Sambhogakaya of the successor of Mystic Fairy. And they were heroes. Little Meng was a piece of trash. He would be killed by others. What a bother. Little Meng was depressed. The Overlord was the reincarnation of the Thunder God. The tyrant's invincible blade was a peerless heavenly weapon made from the body of the Thunder God and the innate Thunder Pool. Little Meng had the mark of the Thunder God. He was the natural owner of the blade. However, the tyrant's invincible blade was in the hands of the successor of Mystic Fairy. Even the Overlord was dead. Little Meng, the next owner of the tyrant's invincible blade, was in the hands of the successor of Mystic Fairy. The successor of Mystic Fairy had found the mark of the Thunder God through the reaction of the tyrant's invincible blade. They must be looking for Little Meng everywhere. He could hide for a while, but not forever. In the end, he had to fight with the successor of Mystic Fairy to end this. Since I have to work with Gu Xiaosang for the random task, Let's treat this as a rehearsal. Little Meng thought for a while and nodded. I agree to deal with the successor of Mystic Fairy. Thank you, husband. Gu Xiaosang smiled like a blooming flower. She bowed gracefully and transmitted her voice. Shan Xiumei is one of the doppelgangers of the successor of Mystic Fairy. She had also arrived in Yi City. Do you think this is a coincidence? I see. Little Meng's pupils shrank. He was in Yi City, and so was Shan Xiumei. Did this mean that the Mystic Fairy sect had a secret method to locate his approximate location? In this case, Shan Xiumei, the successor of Mystic Fairy's doppelganger, had to be dealt with. Shan Xiumei has arrived at the Wang family? Little Meng recalled the scene of the hero saving the damsel in distress when they were on the boat. The answer was obvious when he thought about Gu Xiaosang's need for help. My husband is so smart. Gu Xiaosang looked at Little Meng with a face full of admiration and admiration. Little Meng simply ignored it. So Brother Bai had already seen through Shan Xiumei's problem. Little Meng still remembered that when Bai Zhe killed the Joy Devilman and the Iron Hand Devilman, he said to him, "You didn't even realize that you had ruined their show." I'm afraid that Brother Bai didn't know that Shan Xiumei was the doppelganger of the successor of Mystic Fairy. He only noticed the traces of her acting. My husband, tomorrow afternoon is the Kung Fu competition of all the military officials in Yi City. Wang Su will take Shan Xiumei to the competition. Then they will definitely go to the Thousand Flower Building for the gathering. Gu Xiaosang smiled and told him the plan. At that time, my husband will challenge the heroes of Yi City in the name of Killing Blade Su Meng and attract everyone's attention. I have my own way to deal with Shan Xiumei. Then let's do as I say. Little Meng nodded and turned to leave. Back home, Little Meng was still worried. Gu Xiaosang was a demoness and a mental patient. He simply couldn't feel at ease. There must be something wrong with Shan Xiumei. With Gu Xiaosang's status, she can't deal with the red glow sword of a small sect. So, I'm sure that Shan Xiumei is the doppelganger of the successor of Mystic Fairy. Little Meng rubbed between his eyebrows and fell into deep thought. Then, what is Gu Xiaosang's purpose? When Gu Xiaosang said, "to help my husband," he couldn't believe a word of it. No matter what her purpose is, killing the doppelganger of the successor of Mystic Fairy will only benefit me. Moreover, with the Team God Samsara space, I can escape no matter how dangerous it is as long as I say return to the team space in my mind. With this confidence, Little Meng wasn't afraid that Gu Xiaosang would play tricks on him. In that case, let's try to cooperate. It's really interesting for the Alliance and the tribe to team up. Little Meng laughed and had an idea in his mind. The next day, the Kung Fu competition of Yi City was held as scheduled. Gu Xiaosang also came to Little Meng's house as scheduled. "Young master, I'm Little Z. I'm here to serve you on the old madam's order." Gu Xiaosang, who was dressed like a servant girl, carried a bag and walked to Little Meng timidly with her head down. "Yes." Little Meng nodded slightly and thought to himself, "Psychopaths really look like whatever they wear." "Young master, Little Z has brought you some clothes. As the Killing Blade, you can't always wear a scholar's robe. This warrior's outfit suits your identity." While speaking, Gu Xiaosang opened the bag behind her, took out a black outfit, and handed it to Little Meng. Are they giving out props? Since he was going to appear as the Killing Blade, it was indeed appropriate to dress up. Little Meng took the coat and changed into a set of black clothes with the help of her maid, Gu Xiaosang. Handsome, masculine, and extraordinary. Gu Xiaosang buttoned up the last button of her black outfit. Her beautiful eyes sparkled as she looked at Little Meng with admiration. "But it seems like it's still a little short." Gu Xiaosang clapped her hands and took out a black hero's scarf from the bag and tied it around his forehead. "Young master, take a look. Are you satisfied with this outfit?" Taking out a bronze mirror from the bag, Gu Xiaosang looked at Little Meng with a smile. "It really looks like it." Little Meng glanced at the bronze mirror and saw the black outfit in the mirror. With the black hero's scarf on his head, he really looked handsome, masculine, and extraordinary. Young master, they will go to the Thousands of Flowers Tower in an hour. Do you need to make some preparations? According to Gu Xiaosong's plan, Little Meng's challenge to Yi City's famous figures should be as big as possible. I need to make some preparations. Although the outfit was good, it didn't have any defense. Compared to his own robe, it was nothing except for its beauty. But looking good was the biggest reason. Little Meng turned back to his room, but Gu Xiaosang didn't follow him. Master of Samsara, can you refine the refined weapon-level robe onto this set of clothes? Yes. Hearing this answer, Little Meng was overjoyed. He quickly put the refined weapon-level robe and the black outfit together and asked the Master of Samsara to refine it. In a moment, Little Meng put on the outfit again and walked out of the room with an imposing appearance. Little Z, prepare the carriage and follow me to meet the heroes of Yi City. Chapter 8:27. Gu Xiaosang had really prepared a carriage. The carriage was made of red sandalwood, simple yet exquisite. It was covered with a layer of white carpet, a soft couch, and a table. There were even snacks, fruits, and wine on the table. Love what you do. You look like whatever you want. Gu Xiaosang really did her fake identity as a servant girl to the extreme. Looking at Gu Xiaosang, who was pouring wine and peeling fruits, Little Meng was full of praise. But who would have the guts to eat the wine and peeled fruits from the demoness of Grand Luo? Who knew if there was something like heartbreak powder or half-step crazy smile in it? We're going to challenge the heroes of Yi City later. Don't drink or eat. Little Meng looked at the wine cup that was offered to his mouth, and could only find an excuse to decline. You're right. Please punish me for my lack of consideration. Gu Xiaosang showed a trace of fear on her face and hurriedly apologized to Little Meng. You're quite into your role. Little Meng waved his hand, indicating that it was fine. Not long after, the carriage stopped at Wanhua Building. Gu Xiaosang got off first, opened the door, and placed a soft cushion under the door. Sir, please get off. All right. Even if you're really a servant girl, you can still make a name for yourself. Little Meng was full of admiration for Gu Xiaosang's performance. She was so good at acting. It was simply acting? Little Meng was shocked. Gu Xiaosang must be acting in front of me too. I have to be very careful with today's performance. I don't want to be killed by her. Raising his vigilance, Little Meng strode into the Thousand Flowers Tower, with his hands on his long saber and his head held high. At this moment, the heroes of Yi City were gathered in Wanhua Building. The entire 10,000 flower building was reserved by Wang Su, and the hall was filled with Wuling heroes. The center of the hall was empty. This was to make it easier for the heroes to practice martial arts. Shan Shimei, who was as beautiful as a lotus, was sitting side by side with Wang Su at the head of the table. Young hero, may I ask who you are? Seeing the handsome Little Meng stride into Wanhua Building with his head held high. As the host, someone from the Wang family naturally came to greet him. I'm Su Meng. Little Meng stood with his hand on his saber and announced his name loudly. Thunderblade Furious Monk? Reckless Monk? As soon as this name came out, the entire hall exclaimed. Heroes on the ranking list of young masters were the top heroes in Yi City. However, I've even been called Frenzied Blade for a long time now. Why am I still calling myself Thunderblade Furious Monk? Why did he need Reckless Monk? Killing Blade Su Meng. Little Meng corrected his nickname with a serious and expressionless face. Today, all the heroes of Yi City have gathered here. I, Su Meng, would like to learn from the heroes of Yi City. Standing proudly, Little Meng looked around and found a worthy opponent among the crowd. Golden Sun Sword, Jin Jinxian had perfected 9 apertures and achieved oneness of heaven and men. Senior Jin, I would like to exchange a few moves with you. With a few precious weapons, even if little Meng encountered a figure of the first heaven of the exterior, he would still be able to put up a fight. Naturally, challenging Jin Jinxian would be a piece of cake. Master Su, you're a young hero on the ranking list of young masters. I'd like to meet you. Jin Jinxian could not avoid the challenge in front of all the heroes of Yi City. He could only stand up and accept the challenge. Clang! Jin Jinxian unsheathed his long sword and stood with it. Master Su, please. Senior Jin, you're too polite. Little Meng knew that Jin Jinxian would not make the first move because of his identity as a senior. He had to make the first move. He pulled out his long saber and waved his hand to scatter the saber light all over the sky. With a slash, it was untraceable. This was the Heaven Blade Little Meng had just exchanged for. Heavenly Blade Song Ke was famous in the Tang Empire. This saber technique was similar to the Dugu sword, in that it was also full of changes but more ferocious. Each move was like the power of heaven. Good saber. Killing Blade lives up to his name. This slash was met with cheers from all around. Jin Jinxian saw Little Meng make the first move. With a wave of his long sword, golden light shone and heat waves spread. Clang, clang, clang. The saber and the sword clashed and the two of them fought. At this moment, no one paid attention to the maid who had followed Little Meng in. At some point, Gu Xiaosong's figure had disappeared. How can there be no wine in such a grand occasion? Waiter, bring up the wine, the best wine. As the host, Wang Su waved his hand heroically and ordered the waiter to bring up the best wine. Master Wang, this is the best wine in our shop, 1,000-flower wine. In a moment, the waiter brought up the jars of good wine. What was sent to Wang Su's table was the best of the best. 1,000-flower wine. Wang Su's expression was slightly awkward. He secretly glanced at Shan Xiumei, who was beside him. Seeing that there was no change in her expression, he was relieved. This 1,000-flower wine was, of course, good wine. But it was aphrodisiac. It was a bit awkward to drink this kind of wine beside a beauty. Fortunately, Shan Xiumei did not seem to know the effects of the 1,000-flower wine. Wang Su was relieved. Apart from aphrodisiac, 1,000-flower wine has another function, and that is diuretic. In a room of the 1,000-flower house, Gu Xiaosang had changed into a plain white dress. She looked ethereal like a celestial being. At this moment, Little Meng and Jin Jinxian were still fighting. Out of respect for his senior, Little Meng did not use his ultimate move right away. Instead, he competed with Jin Jinxian. For one thing, he could deepen his understanding of the Skyblade bladesmanship. For another, he would not appear too aggressive. After all, he was a young master of Jianghu. He was a righteous man. Of course, he had to have a good reputation. If word got out that he was vengeful and arrogant, he would vomit blood and die if people called him Mountain Wolf. The fragrance of the 1,000-flower wine filled the entire 1,000-flower house. Everyone in the house was watching the fight and drinking. Even Shan Xiumei was no exception. After all, Qixia Sword was also a Jianghu person. Even if she was a heroine, she had to drink some wine. Then, the 1,000-flower wine diuretic. Young Master Wang, I'll go out and tidy up my makeup. Shan Xiumei greeted Wang Su and got up to go to the bathroom. When Shan Xiumei passed by a private room, the door suddenly opened. A delicate and ethereal young girl stepped out as if she was flying in the air. She stretched out her slender finger and pointed at Shan Xiumei's forehead without a trace of smoke or fire. The mortal world is like a prison. All living things are suffering. The reincarnation cycle never ends. Have mercy on my people. God descends from heaven. A Jati matriarch, vacuum hometown. The airflow collapsed and a huge suction force appeared. Shan Xiumei was involuntarily drawn to Gu Xiaosang. The demoness of Grand Luo. Shan Xiumei was shocked and several thoughts flashed through her mind. 1,000-flower wine. Not only can it boost sex drive, but it can also diuretic. It turned out that this was a trap set by the demoness of Grand Luo. Shan Xiumei wanted to shout, but she could not make a sound. She could only summon up her genuine qi and fight with all her might. However, the qi and blood in her body surged and gathered at Gu Xiaosong's finger. Shan Xiumei's body shriveled instantly. Boom! Essence and blood exploded and her body disintegrated. A wisp of ethereal qi appeared. It was full of fairy qi and ethereal as if it came from the 9 heavens. In the fairy qi, the figure of a fairy who looked like Shan Xiumei could be vaguely seen. In a flash, the fairy qi rose and was about to rush into the distance. The demoness of Grand Luo, the fairy of the 9th heaven. When the vacuum hometown and the wisp of ethereal qi rushed up, all the martial arts heroes in the 1,000-flower building jumped up in shock. The scene was chaotic. Naturally, the battle between Little Meng and Jin Jinxian could not continue. Gu Xiaosang has already started? Little Meng looked up and saw a broken stone tablet in Gu Xiaosong's hand. She slammed it hard against the wisp of ethereal qi. Smack! With a flash of spiritual light, the wisp of ethereal qi merged into the stone tablet. Goodbye, husband. Gu Xiaosang smiled and sent a message to Little Meng. Then, the stone tablet burst into a light and enveloped Gu Xiaosang. Boom! The light shot up to the sky like a pillar. As the light shone, the light pillar shot toward a towering ancient gate that exuded endless majesty. The gate of the heavenly court has been opened. The first step of the mission is completed. Do you want to enter the heavenly court? The voice of the Samsara Master rang in Little Meng's mind. So that's the gate of the heavenly court. Xiaosang, it's too early to say goodbye. Taking advantage of the chaos, Little Meng slipped out of the 1,000-flower building and thought, enter the heavenly court. In a flash, Little Meng disappeared. Chapter 828. I've finally entered the 9th heaven. Passing through the majestic and ancient door, a land made of white clouds appeared in front of her. Countless exquisite and gorgeous palaces could be vaguely seen amidst the swirling clouds. Gu Xiaosang stood on the white clouds with a relieved smile on her face. Husband, I borrowed your strength to activate the heavenly court's stone tablet with the fairy qi of the 9th heaven fairy, and let me enter the heavenly court. Xiaosang will thank you properly. Gu Xiaosang smiled sweetly. Her white dress fluttered as she stepped into the 9th heaven amidst the swirling clouds. How are you going to thank me? A voice sounded in front of her, causing Gu Xiaosang's expression to change drastically. Looking up, she saw a handsome young man in black with a hero's headband on his head and a long saber in his hand. He was standing in front of her with a smile on his face. Husband, you've already entered. Gu Xiaosang's expression changed for a while, then she smiled sweetly with a shy expression. You're already my husband, how should I thank you? Of course, I'll give myself to you. Ha ha. Hearing Gu Xiaosang's answer, Little Meng could only chuckle. The god of thunder is also a god of the heavenly court. Husband, you have the mark of the god of thunder, so it's not strange that you can enter the heavenly court. Gu Xiaosang looked at Little Meng. Since you're here, why don't we explore the 9th heaven together? That's great. The random task was for Little Meng and Gu Xiaosang to explore the 9th heaven together. Little Meng could only team up with a dangerous person like Gu Xiaosang. Then, let's go. Gu Xiaosang smiled sweetly. An ray of light lit up in her hand. The light, as bright as the moon, rippled and diffused toward Little Meng. Little Meng's heart tightened. Was Gu Xiaosang going to attack? He hurriedly leaped and dodged the ray of light. The long saber in his hand came out of its sheath with a clang. Then, he realized that the attack he was expecting did not come. This is the cloud riding technique, used to travel in the 9th heaven. Gu Xiaosang stepped on the moonlight and floated in the air surrounded by clouds. Her face full of resentment, she looked at little Meng sadly. Husband, you don't believe me? Ha ha! Little Meng scratched his head and could only chuckle. Demoness of Grand Luo, who would dare to believe her? Believing in the demoness of Grand Luo? Was he tired of living? With a leap, little Meng stepped onto the cloud riding technique. With the moonlight supporting their feet, they floated in the air. Riding on the moonlight, little Meng and Gu Xiaosang broke through the air with a whistling sound, passing through layer after layer of solid white clouds and crystal walls of the void. As they flew, the scene before them was horrifying. The land formed by the white clouds was shattered, the vast ocean was torn apart, the towering immortal mountains collapsed, and the mighty heavenly river was broken into several sections. All that was left of the majestic and gorgeous immortal abodes were broken walls. These scenes flashed past one by one. Just as little Meng was about to take a closer look, they quickly disappeared as if they were just illusions. We're here. After an unknown period of time, the moonlight under little Meng's feet stopped flowing. Little Meng's feet landed on the ground that was formed by white clouds. The surroundings were misty, and the chi of heaven and earth was extremely abundant, as vast as the sea. As expected of the heavenly court, the heaven-earth origin chi is so dense, it's countless times stronger than the mortal world. Feeling that the heaven-earth origin chi was so dense that it was almost solid, little Meng was full of praise. The 9 heavens of the heavenly court. The lower levels are the abodes of the immortals and the encampments of the various departments of the heavenly court. Gu Xiaosang introduced the heavenly court to little Meng like the owner of the place. Countless years have passed since the heavenly court was broken. It was unknown how many people had been here. The lower levels have long been plundered clean. Our target is the top 3 levels. Back then, the Devil Lord went to the heavenly court. The 9 heavens were broken and the heavenly court fell. A group of heavenly soldiers, heavenly generals, and various immortals either fell or scattered. The heavenly court that ruled the 3 realms fell apart. However, those who ran away, after avoiding the calamity, naturally came to the 9 heavens to seek treasures. Since ancient times, the 9 heavens had been plundered by countless people. Other than the places that were inaccessible, the other places had basically been swept clean, not even dust. The top 3 levels? What are those places? Although little Meng had obtained the Thunder God's mark, he did not have any memory inheritance. His understanding of the heavenly court was completely at the level of uproar in heaven. Husband, won't you know once you enter? Gu Xiaosang pointed at a door in front of them and smiled sweetly at little Meng. Little Meng saw that the ancient door was surrounded by countless thunderbolts, sealing the door. Purple thunderbolts flowed continuously on the door. Every thunderbolt seemed to contain the power to destroy the world. Husband, this is the power of the Thunder God. Open the door, it's up to you. Gu Xiaosang smiled sweetly and stood gracefully. Her white dress fluttered without wind like a fairy. If I didn't come, how did you plan to enter? Little Meng entered the 9 heavens because of the random task of the Samsara Master. It was definitely not in Gu Xiaosang's plan. Therefore, even if little Meng did not come, Gu Xiaosang would still have a way to open the door. The mystic fairy sect used a trace of the aura of the tyrant's invincible blade to make a talisman called the Thunder Talisman. It can draw the power of thunderbolts. A talisman surrounded by lightning appeared in Gu Xiaosang's hand. This thing is not very safe. If you activate the Thunder God's mark and use the Shunshao 9 annihilations, it will be foolproof. Okay. Little Meng took a deep breath. The thunderbolt mark on the back of his hand flashed. He unsheathed his long saber and slashed out. Crack! Lightning flashed and thunder roared. The long saber hit the purple door. The condensed thunderbolts exploded. The fierce and explosive aura shook the world. As the thunderbolts flashed, little Meng was shocked. It was as if he had fallen into an inexplicable illusion. Lightning flashed in front of him. A bronze-skinned giant stood proudly between heaven and earth. His body was covered with ancient thunderbolt marks. He held a thunderbolt spear in his hand, and was surrounded by a sea of thunderbolt. Roar! The bronze-skinned giant roared. The long spear in his hand exploded with thunderbolt. The fierce and domineering aura could destroy the world. This is the aura of the thunder god left on the thunderbolt formation that sealed the door. Little Meng was shocked. He did not dare to be careless. He raised his long saber and used the Shunshao 9 annihilations, violent thunder shocking the sky. Boom! The saber slashed out. Thunder roared and countless thunderbolts condensed on the long saber. After this slash, the bronze-skinned giant stopped all movements. In the flashing thunderbolts, it gradually dissipated. Crack, crack! After the thunderbolts dissipated, the door slowly opened. Go in quickly! At this moment, a boundary stone flew into the door in front of them. Gu Xiaosang leaped into the air, her fragrance wafting through the air as she dashed towards the door. I'm coming! Little Meng stepped out and entered the door. It was as if he had passed through layers of voids and worlds and arrived at the end of the world. Light lit up in front of him. In front of him was a vast forest. This was a peach forest. The branches and leaves of the ancient peach trees were withered. The bark was blood-red. The soil on the ground looked as if it had been stained with blood. The thick smell of blood assailed his nostrils. Peach Garden. Gu Xiaosang's soft voice floated. The child was sick and went to the hospital in the morning. There was no time to write, so he updated a chapter first. Chapter 829. Peach Garden. Little Meng was naturally familiar with the peach garden. Back when he was watching Journey to the West, he had drooled over the peach garden. There were peaches that ripened every 3,000 years, 6,000 years and 9,000 years. After eating them, one could become an immortal and live as long as the heavens and earth. Especially when the monkey was in charge of the peach garden. He froze the 7 fairies and then left the 7 fairies behind to pick the peaches. If it were me, I would have gone to eat the peaches too. Become an immortal and live as an immortal, live as long as the heavens. This is the peach garden? He looked around and saw a sea of blood. The peach trees had withered branches and leaves, and their bark was mottled. There were no leaves, no peach blossoms or peaches. They were all blood-red, like demon trees that had sucked in blood. There was a dense peach forest in front of him, but it was a blood-red peach forest. The ground was even more horrifying, as if it had been soaked in blood for thousands of years. Was this the peach garden or the netherworld sea of blood? Little Meng's heart tightened. He pressed down on his sword and saber and focused on sensing his surroundings. The peach garden in front of him was definitely not the immortal palace of the past. Just as he extended his senses, Little Meng felt as if he had fallen into a boundless sea of blood. The blood-red waves churned violently and the terrifying power seemed to crush everything in the world. So terrifying? Little Meng composed himself and pressed down on his sword and saber, not daring to relax for a moment. In the past, this was the peach garden. Now, this is the death-demanding garden. Gu Xiaosang's face was plain and her gaze was deep. She smiled at Little Meng and said, "Hubby, you must not turn back or stop later. You must not collect anything or you will be doomed eternally." Can't turn back or stop. Don't collect anything? Little Meng was shocked when he heard this. How did Demoness Gu know all this? No matter how gentle and beautiful Demoness Gu was, Little Meng did not let down his guard for a moment. If Demoness Gu was trustworthy, all the martial arts heroes who had been killed by her would have died with grievances. I must be careful later. I will do whatever she does. I must not be tricked by her. Why can't I turn back or stop? Little Meng asked expressionlessly. Gu Xiaosang lowered her head and looked at Little Meng with a face full of resentment. It's a long story and I can't explain it clearly. Could it be that my husband doesn't believe me? Do you want this concubine to die in front of you before you believe me? The corner of little Meng's mouth twitched. He was speechless and could only chuckle. If I really believed you, I wouldn't even know how I died. Husband, sooner or later, you will understand. Gu Xiaosang let out a long sigh, as if she really did have some hidden bitterness. Her tone carried some helplessness. Little Meng ignored it. Gu Xiaosang's acting skills had reached the highest level. She was so dedicated to her role as a maid. Follow me, Gu Xiaosang called out and stepped into the peach garden. Without another word, little Meng followed Gu Xiaosang into the peach garden. Wherever he landed, he felt as if he had sunk into mud. Clearly, this piece of land had already been soaked in blood and turned into a bloody paste. Little Meng raised his lightness skill, lightened his footsteps, and moved forward quickly. He had only taken a few steps when he felt a chill on his back. There was a sharp edge on his back, as if someone had launched a surprise attack from behind. Little Meng was shocked and instinctively wanted to draw his sword and turn around. I can't turn back, I can't stop. At this moment, little Meng suddenly remembered what Gu Xiaosang had said. Did he believe her? Or did he not? At this moment, countless thoughts flashed through little Meng's mind. If there is an enemy, they won't just attack me. Gu Xiaosang must be a target as well. Gu Xiaosang, who was in front of him, was striding forward in her white boots as if she was taking a stroll in the park. She did not seem to sense any danger and had no intention of turning around to face the enemy. Demoness Gu would definitely not joke about her own life. Therefore, if she doesn't turn back, I won't turn back either. Little Meng took a deep breath and resisted the urge to turn around and draw his sword. He continued to move forward. The attack from behind did not come. This made little Meng heave a sigh of relief, but he was still a little puzzled. Demoness Gu was telling the truth? The attack from behind did not come, but the feeling of the sharp edge on his back was getting worse. Every time he took a step forward, he had to resist the instinctive urge to turn around and face the enemy. It was unbearably painful. Suddenly, there was the sound of something flying through the air behind him, as if someone was flying through the air and attacking him from behind. The sharp sound of a sharp blade piercing through the air, the monstrous killing intent, and the icy chill seemed to have descended from the 9 serenities. Little Meng's hands, which were holding the sword and saber, trembled violently. He steadied his mind and resisted the instinctive urge to turn around and face the enemy with great difficulty. That is. Suddenly, a golden figure appeared in front of him. The vast aura was frightening. A golden-armored heavenly soldier. A Dharmakaya master. This figure made little Meng almost stop in his tracks. Fortunately, he came to his senses in time. I can't turn back, I can't stop. Only then did he stop his instinctive reaction and continue moving forward. When he got closer, little Meng realized that the golden-armored heavenly soldier was already dead. But his death was terrifying to the extreme. He turned around. Then, he died. Little Meng's hair stood on end when he saw the posture of the golden-armored heavenly soldier. He turned around, so he's dead? A Dharmakaya master died when he turned around? What's so strange about the peach garden? Why do the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals not know that they can't turn around, but Gu Xiaosang knows? Little Meng was puzzled, but he did not stop moving forward. The further he went, the thicker the blood became. The ground under his feet had become a blood-soaked swamp. He also died here? At this moment, Gu Xiaosang looked at the blood-colored soil in front of her and sighed softly. She did not stop moving forward. Who died here? Little Meng followed her gaze and saw a head not far from where the blood had seeped out of the soil. The forehead was protruding, the ears were big, and the beard was white. The top of the head was cracked, and everything below the neck seemed to have turned into mud. He looks familiar. Where have I seen him before? Little Meng frowned slightly. He felt that he had seen this head somewhere before. The longevity god. Gu Shaosang answered casually. The longevity god? The legendary longevity god, who was in charge of longevity and represented longevity, had actually died? Little Meng did not stop moving. When he was about to step over the longevity god's head, he suddenly saw a spot of blood on the forehead of the longevity god. But the longevity god's head cracked open, revealing a blood-colored peach. A blood-colored peach? What's this? Little Meng's eyes narrowed. He felt that it was extremely strange and horrifying. Don't touch it, Gu Shaosang reminded him. Let's keep moving forward. We'll be out of the peach garden soon. Little Meng nodded. He resisted the urge to see what was going on and ignored the blood-colored peach. He continued moving forward. There was nothing strange in front of them. Soon, the two of them walked out of the peach garden. Phew! We're finally out. Little Meng let out a long sigh. Can we turn back now? Swoosh! At this moment, there was a sound of something breaking the air behind him. It seemed that something was coming toward Little Meng. Gu Shaosang did not answer. Can we turn back now? After a moment of hesitation, a blood-colored light rushed out and landed on Little Meng's hand. A blood-colored peach? Under Little Meng's horrified gaze, the blood-colored peach instantly entered the Thunder God's mark on the back of his hand and disappeared. Little Meng was dumbfounded. What did I do this time? The child is sick. I can only wait until midnight. Please wait for a few days. Sorry. Chapter 830. What's this? Little Meng raised his hand in shock and asked Gu Shaosang. I'm ignorant, so I don't know. Gu Shaosang smiled bitterly and shook her head. Maybe it's the god of longevity's backup plan, or maybe it's something else. I really don't know. Despite all his precautions, he was still fooled by her. Little Meng was depressed. He raised his hand and saw the Master God's item. Can I let the Master of Samsara appraise it? The blood longevity peach is a foreign object born in the god of longevity's head. It's harmless at the moment. Appraising its origin will involve the karma of a great power. I don't recommend revealing its origin now. Little Meng's heart sank when he heard the Master of Samsara's reminder. The karma of a great power made Little Meng think of something bad. His transmigration was definitely not a coincidence. There must be a great power behind it. This feeling of being dominated by others, of having one's fate manipulated by others, was really unpleasant. However, his current strength was still too weak. He was not even an ant in front of a great power. If he wanted to resist, he had to have the power to resist. Besides, the blood longevity peach had the karma of a great power. Transmigration also had the karma of a great power. Then what about the Master of Samsara in 6 realms? And what about the Master of Samsara now? What kind of karma was this? Then there was the Thunder God's mark and the Ananda oath-breaking blade. How much karma do I have? There was no need to worry about it now. He could only worry about it later. Thinking of this, Little Meng stopped worrying about the blood peach. He looked up at Gu Shaosang and asked, Miss Shaosang, what's your purpose in coming to the 9th heaven? I want to go to the Three-Life Temple. Gu Shaosang's eyes were as clear as water and filled with tenderness. It's said that in the Three-Life Temple, love will last for 3 lifetimes. From now on, this concubine will be with you for all eternity. Three-Life Temple. Little Meng narrowed his eyes. He ignored the whole love will last for 3 lifetimes thing. What was in the Three-Life Temple that attracted Gu Shaosang? Little Meng didn't know anything about the 9th heaven, so he couldn't think of a reason. He could only take one step at a time. He raised his guard and followed Gu Shaosang. To Little Meng's surprise, Gu Shaosang seemed to be very familiar with the 9th heaven. After leaving the peach garden, she continued to move forward without stopping, until a dilapidated palace appeared in front of him. It was a half-collapsed palace that was divided into 3 parts: left, middle, and right. The left and right side of the palace were almost completely destroyed, and half of the palace in the middle had collapsed. A horizontal board was placed in front of the palace. It lay within the dense mist, revealing a few seal characters: 3 Lives Palace. In the middle is the Hall of This Life, and on the sides are the Hall of Past Life and the Hall of Future Life. Seeing the dilapidated palace in front of them, little Meng knew that they had arrived at their destination. However, only the palace of this life is left in the palace of 3 lives. Gu Xiaosong's target must be the Hall of This Life. The Past Life Hall and Next Life Hall on both sides of the 3 Lives Hall were almost completely destroyed. Only a few broken walls of the Hall of This Life remained intact. Even the substantial white clouds below had been scattered, leaving only a chaotic void. The Hall of This Life, on the other hand, was relatively complete. "Husband, let's go in." Gu Xiaosang took the lead and led little Meng into the Hall of This Life. With a squeak, the door of the palace opened. It didn't seem to have any restriction or magic array. It was just like an ordinary door. "I'm afraid this place was deliberately left for Gu Xiaosang by some mighty person?" Little Meng muttered to himself and became more vigilant. "What is this place?" "This is the 9 levels of heaven, the immortal realm, and the celestial court." The immortals could crush 2 ants who had not even reached the exterior level into ashes with a single breath. Stepping into the 9 levels of heaven, there was no danger. It was as if they were returning home. It would be strange if there was nothing wrong with this place. Walking into the Hall of This Life, little Meng was in a daze, as if he had fallen into the clouds. Oh no! No wonder Gu Xiaosang didn't do anything strange along the way. She was waiting for me here. Little Meng was shocked. Just as he was about to resist, he suddenly realized that the scene in front of him had completely changed. In a hospital in a small county, a baby was born with a squawk. Elementary school, middle school, high school, university, studying, taking exams, fighting, falling in love. Then, he transmigrated to the Shaolin Temple to practice Kung Fu, the 6 realms of samsara to complete missions, and the happy Jianghu. The past was vivid in his mind. It was as if he had experienced life all over again in an instant. The mirror of this life reflects this life. I see. After his mind recovered, little Meng also understood the reason. Gu Xiaosang was not tricking him. He was standing in a hall that had been sealed for a long time. The hall was covered with dust. The floor was paved with golden bricks, and there was no moss or grass growing. In the middle of the hall, a mirror hung high, reflecting every detail of this life. This was the mirror of this life. "Husband, after reflecting this life, did you gain anything?" Gu Xiaosang looked at little Meng with a smile. "Reflecting this life can help you strengthen yourself in this life and reduce some traces of your previous life. But..." At this point, Gu Xiaosang shook her head and did not continue the rest of the sentence. However, little Meng also understood what she wanted to say. The rest of the sentence must be not enough. Reduce traces of my previous life? Why did she deliberately say this? Was there something wrong with my previous life? Little Meng's face became gloomy when he thought of his transmigration, the karma of the great powers, and the mastermind behind the scenes. Gu Xiaosang must have known something that he did not know. The mirror of this life is also a treasure. Although it has no offensive or defensive abilities, it is also very beneficial to reflect this life from time to time. "Husband, don't you want to take this treasure?" Gu Xiaosang pointed at the mirror of this life and smiled at little Meng. With a wave of her hand, the mirror of this life turned into a ray of light and fell into Gu Xiaosang's hand. It turned into a small bronze mirror the size of a palm. "Husband, here you go." Gu Xiaosang extended her jade-like arm and handed the treasure to little Meng. "Take it? Or not? Demoness Gu, are you up to something?" The terror of the demoness of Grand Luo made little Meng hesitate. Husband, I have done so much for you, but you still don't believe me? What do I have to do to make you believe me? Gu Xiaosong's face was full of resentment and tears faintly flashed in her eyes. Master of Samsara, appraise the mirror of this life. As for Gu Xiaosong's performance, little Meng simply ignored it. The mirror of this life reflects this life and strengthens this life. There is no refining imprint and no foreign energy remaining. You didn't tamper with it? Is it really for me? Little Meng muttered inwardly. He reached out to take the mirror of this life and put it into his storage ring. Thank you, Miss Xiaosang. Since she did not tamper with it, little Meng naturally would not be courteous. Husband, you don't have to be so courteous with me. Seeing little Meng put away the mirror of this life, Gu Xiaosang smiled sweetly and seemed to be very happy. Husband, there is another treasure behind. It is the 3 lives fruit. Gu Xiaosang pointed at the mirror table with a shy expression. Husband, let's each eat a 3 lives fruit. Then we will be committed to each other for 3 lifetimes and never be separated. Ha ha! Little Meng could only chuckle at Gu Xiaosang's habitual tongue-twisting words. Gu Xiaosang must have schemed for this so-called 3 lives fruit, right? He wanted to see what it was. With the master of Samsara's appraisal, little Meng had some confidence and was not worried about being tricked to death by Demoness Gu. Chapter 831. Miss Xiaosang, don't you find it strange? Little Meng turned to Gu Xiaosang and said solemnly, only the hall of this life is left in the 3-life hall. The halls of past life and next life have been destroyed. He pointed to the outside of the hall of this life, which was in ruins. The bricks and stones of the immortal hall were scattered, and the ground made of white clouds was shattered. The surroundings were a mess, as if it had been ravaged by wind, burned by fire, and struck by lightning. The place was covered in scorch marks. Miss Xiaosang, this place was obviously attacked and destroyed by someone. Little Meng's expression was very serious. Why did they leave the hall of this life behind? There must be something fishy about this. Thinking of the karma of the Almighty, little Meng felt that this 3-life hall was left behind on purpose. He then thought of how Gu Xiaosang walked through the 9 heavens as if she was going home. Then she came to this hall of this life that was obviously left behind on purpose. It would be strange if there was nothing fishy about this place. Perhaps this hall of this life is still useful to the person who destroyed it. Gu Xiaosang's eyebrows relaxed, and she did not care. She really knows something. Little Meng understood that Gu Xiaosang knew many secrets. It was just that it was too difficult to make Demoness Gu say it out loud, and to make her speak the truth. Little Meng did not have any hope. Husband, let's go find the 3-life fruit. Gu Xiaosang walked to the mirror and made a hand seal. Airflow gathered and condensed into petals in the center of the mirror. Buzz! The mirror suddenly emitted a clear light and rippled like water. It slowly split open, revealing a flight of stairs that led downwards. Oh! Gu Xiaosang took a step back and looked surprised. I just thought that the pattern on the mirror looked familiar and was compatible with a forbidden spell. I tried a little and it actually opened the secret passage. Keep pretending. Keep pretending. Little Meng's mouth twitched. Demoness Gu, your acting skills are not up to par this time. You're so obviously faking it. Husband, let's go down. Gu Xiaosang turned a blind eye to Xiao Meng's disdainful look. Her sleeves fluttered as she stepped into the secret passage. Little Meng looked up as they walked down the stairs. There was a cave below. There were only 9 flights of stairs, and they soon reached the end. The cave in front of him wasn't big. The soil in the cave was piled up like a garden. In the middle of the cave there was a tall and slender green tree. Before his eyes, he could only see a section of the tree's trunk. The bottom of the tree reached the ground and the top of the cave. The tree's sap stretched out and its roots spread out. It seemed to be connected to every place in this layer of the sky. At the foot of the tree there was a stone table. A palm-sized jade plate was placed on top of it. It was covered with dense seal scripts and patterns. On the right side of the stone table, there was a strange plant with only 3 branches and 1 leaf. It was no more than 3 feet tall. It was shaped like a withered firewood, with branches on its left, right, and top. In the center of the branches were 2 thumb-sized green fruits, which emitted a mysterious and indescribable aura. "Husband, that's the 3 lives fruit." Gu Shaosang carefully walked over and took out the strange vase and a small jade hammer. She gently knocked the 2 fruits into the vase and quickly sealed it. "Husband, this jade disc contains the Celestial Emperor's cultivation technique." After taking the 2 so-called 3 lives fruit, Gu Shaosang seemed to be very happy. She pointed at the jade disc on the stone table and smiled at little Meng. "The Celestial Emperor's cultivation technique is awe-inspiring. You can't miss it." "The Celestial Emperor's cultivation technique?" Little Meng frowned slightly. He couldn't figure out who this Celestial Emperor was. In the legends on Earth, the Celestial Emperors were Eastern Emperor Tai, Haotian Emperor, and Jade Emperor. Later on, the Jade Emperor gradually replaced the Clear Sky Emperor and merged the legends of the 2 into one. Was the Celestial Emperor in front of him the original Haotian, or the later Jade Emperor? Or was he the Eastern Emperor Tai, who was killed? I'd better let the Master of Samsara appraise it to prevent any trick. He reached for the jade disc, but the ring on his hand secretly aimed at the jade disc. He secretly asked the Master of Samsara to appraise it. 3 lives jade disc, Jade Emperor's cultivation technique. The initial version of Celestial Emperor's Jade Book. Little Meng was relieved to hear the Master of Samsara's appraisal. Jade Emperor? The Celestial Emperor's Jade Book in this world is related to time. The Time Blade is the Celestial Emperor's weapon. Controlling 3 lives, isn't that the power of time? Sure enough. He waved his hand and put the 3 lives jade disc into the storage ring. With this harvest, this trip to the 9 heavens was already a huge gain. The exchange price of Celestial Emperor's Jade Book in the Master of Samsara in 6 realms was an astronomical figure. What is this tree? In the middle of the cave there was only a section of a giant tree trunk, which seemed to be connected to the endless void. Little Meng was very curious about it, so he couldn't help asking the Master of Samsara to appraise it. The Jianmu, also known as the World Tree, is the tree of De Dao. It bears all the Dao, connects the heavens, and is the foundation of the world and the power of the Celestial Emperor. The Jianmu? So it's this thing. Little Meng took a deep breath. In the legends on Earth, he had heard of the legend of the Jianmu to heaven. Well, this was not something he could do. Optional task. Cut off a section of the World Tree's branch. Task reward, none. Task penalty, none. Task introduction, none. Suddenly, Little Meng received another, optional task from the Master of Samsara. 3 no tasks. So, should I do it or not? There was no reward, no punishment, and no introduction. If he wanted to do it, he could do it. If he didn't want to, he could choose not to. But because of this, Little Meng hesitated. Since he joined the Master God team, and received the support of the Master of Samsara, it seemed that the Master of Samsara did not set any obstacles, nor did he impose any punishment such as obliteration. It seemed that the Master of Samsara's tasks were all up to him. If he didn't want to do it, he could choose not to do it. If he completed it, there would be a reward. If he didn't, there would be no punishment. This way. Rule by doing nothing? Taishang Laojun? Is Taishang Laojun behind the Master of Samsara? After a few thoughts, Little Meng decided to take a section of the Jianmu's branch. Walking to the side of the Jianmu's trunk, Little Meng found a section of a small branch that had just sprouted and cut it with his sword. Clang! The violent shock almost made little Meng's sword fly out of his hand. And on that tender green branch, there was not even a trace of a mark left behind. Hubby, what are you doing? How can you cut the Jianmu's branch? The Jianmu represents the whole world. If you cut the Jianmu's branch, isn't it the same as cutting the whole world? Gu Shaosheng looked at little Meng, dumbfounded. She did not know what was wrong with him. She really knows that this is the Jianmu's branch. Little Meng looked at Gu Shaosheng thoughtfully and nodded with a smile. I'm just cutting it for fun. Gu Shaosheng rolled her eyes. I'd be a fool to believe you. Hint: put the Master God's tool in contact with the Jianmu's branch and silently say collect in your heart. You can collect a section of the Jianmu's branch. Why didn't you say so earlier? Little Meng felt like he was being teased. He sighed gloomily and walked to the side of the Jianmu's branch. With a wave of his hand, a section of the Jianmu's branch disappeared instantly. Gu Shaosheng looked at little Meng deeply. This cheap hubby seemed to be a little complicated. Could it be that he had awakened the memories of his previous life? Or was there someone behind the scenes? Chapter 832. Husband, let's be together for all eternity. Gu Shaosheng took out a jade bottle and poured out the 2 3-lives fruit. She handed one to little Meng. Eat it and we'll be together forever. Gu Shaosheng smiled sweetly. Her eyes were as clear as water and were filled with deep affection. Demonis Gu's goal should be the 3-lives fruit. But she gave me one. Why is that? Little Meng looked at the 3-lives fruit that Gu Shaosheng handed over. He did not know what Gu Shaosheng was planning. Let the master of samsara appraise it first. He reached out to take the 3-lives fruit and secretly asked the master of samsara to appraise it. This life fruit is one of the 3-lives fruits. It has the ability to strengthen oneself in this life, cut off the fetters of the previous life, and sever the karma of the previous life. If you eat 2 at once, you'll be able to sever all the karma of the previous life. You'll be free from the fetters and be supreme in this life. Little Meng's heart was in turmoil when he saw the appraisal conclusion. Gu Shaosheng, what is she trying to do? Little Meng had guessed that since Gu Shaosheng could come and go as she pleased in the 9 heavens, it was like returning home. This must be due to the memories of the previous life. Gu Shaosheng had tried every means to obtain 2 3-lives fruits in order to sever the karma of the previous life. She would be free from the fetters and be supreme in this life. Little Meng could understand this problem very well. By the time the memories of the previous life were awakened, the existence called Gu Shaosheng would disappear. No one wanted to disappear. Resistance and struggle were inevitable. But she clearly had a one-time chance to regain her freedom. Why did she give one to me? This is the 3-lives fruit, not the 3-lives fruit. What does Miss Shaosheng want to do with such a big gift? Little Meng asked Gu Shaosheng directly, putting it bluntly. Husband, you also know this is the 3-lives fruit? Gu Shaosheng looked at Little Meng in surprise. She had expected that a fish reared by a powerful person like Little Meng would not have inherited memories. Little Meng recognized the 3-lives fruit. This surprised Gu Shaosheng. Husband, we are in the same boat. She took a deep look at Xiao Meng and let out a long sigh. We are all the same. We are all other people's fish. Fish? Little Meng did not understand the meaning of the word fish. There are many mighty figures in this world. Above the Dharmakaya there is the legend, the creation, and the nirvana realm. When one reached the legendary realm, they would be able to unite all of themselves in the myriad world. When we reach the other shore, we will unify ourselves on the river of time. The selves in the universe and the selves in the river of time, the previous life, the present life, and the future life, are fish? Hearing Gu Xiaosheng's explanation, Little Meng understood a little more. He was afraid that he and Gu Shaosheng had become someone else's fish. Other than fish, there's another situation. Gu Xiaosang pointed to the void, her expression solemn. Even the mighty figures of the legendary and creation realms will constantly lose their vitality under the scouring of the river of time. Therefore, these figures have all thought of ways to jump out of the river of time and hide in the chaos. As for the other shore, it has long been in the chaos. The chaotic sea of nothingness is boundless and endless. There is no up or down, no left or right, no past or present. In this chaotic nothingness, these mighty figures naturally need something to guide them back. So, we could also be someone else's lighthouse? Little Meng took a deep breath. He felt that many shackles had been placed on his body. Thunder God, Ananda, dominator of samsara in the 6 realms, dominator of samsara. In the eyes of these people, am I a lighthouse? Then, whose fish am I? What does this have to do with you sharing a present life fruit with me? Demoness Gu is so generous? She's giving up a chance to break free from her fishhook and escape control. She can't really fall in love with me, can she? Little Meng did not believe a single word of love for 3 lifetimes that Demoness Gu had said. Husband Gu Xiaosang's face was full of resentment. What do I have to do to make you believe me? Since you know about the present life fruit, you should know how precious it is. Xiaosang, of course I have to save you. Ha ha. At this moment, Little Meng's only reaction was a ha ha. Dominator of samsara, what are the consequences of each person eating a present life fruit? When one did not understand, one could only ask others. Fortunately, there was still the dominator of samsara to ask. Little Meng's guess about the dominator of samsara was related to Taishang Laojun. In his opinion, if he became the lighthouse of Taishang Laojun, with Laojun's inaction, there should not be any loss. Eating a present life fruit will strengthen one's current self and give one the ability to resist the karma of one's previous life. However, one will not be able to escape the karma of one's previous life. 2 people share the fruit. If one is a man and the other a woman, they will each eat a present life fruit and practice dual cultivation together. With the power of the present life fruit, one can leave one's true spirit mark in the other's true spirit mark. If one of them dies, the other can use the true spirit mark to revive when the other becomes a legendary. Little Meng was dumbfounded when he read the introduction of the dominator of samsara. Dual cultivation? Revive? Could it be this is Gu Xiaosang's plan? Why didn't she eat 2 at once to break free from the shackles? Why did she use this method? I'm someone else's fish, and Gu Xiaosang is someone else's fish too. She clearly has a chance to break free from the fish hook, so why did she use this method to revive herself? She had to wait until the other became a legendary before she could have a chance to revive herself. But was it so easy to reach the legendary realm? The number of people who could not advance to the legendary realm and died halfway was uncountable. The possibility of revival was negligible. Miss Xiaosang, the possibility of reviving with the true spirit mark after becoming a legendary realm is too low. You clearly can break free, so why did you choose this path? Xiao Meng went straight to the point. He did not beat around the bush with Gu Xiaosang and went straight to the point. Hubby, you actually know? Gu Xiaosang blinked her eyes in surprise. After a moment of silence, the smile on Gu Xiaosang's face disappeared and she became very serious. Hubby, you don't understand the horror of those powerful people. No matter which one of us eats the present life fruit or breaks free from the hook, we will die immediately. This is our only chance to fight for our lives. It's not that easy to break free from the fishhook. Besides, with our current strength, we don't have the qualifications to break free. Other than using this method to fight for our lives, what else can we do? Speaking of this, Gu Xiaosang looked at Little Meng. Hubby, the fishing existence behind the 2 of us is unimaginably terrifying. I can't mention their names. Once I mention their names, they will sense it and discover our plans. In the face of such a terrifying person, We can only fight for our lives. Taking a deep breath, Gu Xiaosang's face was bitter. Hubby, if you die, I will cultivate to the legendary realm and revive you. If I die, you must revive me too. With that, Gu Xiaosang opened her mouth and swallowed the present life fruit, then began to undress herself. Wait, why do you keep calling me hubby? Something like dual cultivation. Although there was nothing to be unwilling about, it was naturally more appropriate to have a legitimate reason. I once saw the future. In the future, you will be my hubby. Gu Xiaosang smiled sweetly with a shy expression. All right. You will be my wife sooner or later anyway, so what's there to be afraid of? Little Meng opened his mouth and swallowed the present life fruit, then reached out and hugged Gu Xiaosang. Then, everything was indescribable. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.